Hello and welcome to Poker Night Live. I'm Kara Scott and with me is none other than Mr. Matt Broughton. He's our expert for the evening and we're here for the next 4 hours to take you through, yes, 4 hours, the very best in online Texas Hold'em poker. Isn't that right?
That's absolutely correct. I cannot fault you on that presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we're going to be taking you through the various forms of Texas Hold'em in all of its glory. We've got single table tournaments, we've got cash games, and we've got multi-table tournaments. So there you go. This is very exciting. We've also obviously got Beat the Presenter, everyone's favorite bit of the show except mine, because I keep losing. But I'm not going to harp on about it tonight. Maybe a little bit, but less so than the other nights, I promise. You kind of
have really already, you know, in the first 10 seconds, so it's...
So I kind of lost it there, didn't I?
Yeah.
All my credibility out the window. Oh, well. If you want to give me some hints on how to play better, or if you have questions and whatnot for our expert this evening, there are a couple of ways to get in touch with us. The first one is text POKER and your question to 84222. Or you can send us a nice email, and there you go. That's the email address, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. So that's how it's going to go this evening. We are here, as I said, for the next 4 hours. This is a live, interactive show. We're looking at real players playing real poker in real time for real money.
Wow.
We're keeping it real, in fact.
That's a lot of reals.
Is what we're doing. Should we go see the real tables we're going to be seeing real soon?
Right now. So we have a wide variety of tables. This is one of our 2 multi-table tournaments tonight. This is a free roll. And we will give you a little bit more detail about this, but this is where people have entered for free and they have real money to win with no investment. Always a good thing, and we will come back here and tell you a bit more very soon. We have another table, and this is one of our cash tables. This is a 50 cents or $1 table, and that's nice and full and some familiar faces, so we will pop back here again later. And this is our other multi-table tournament. This is a special. This is a $5 rebuy, but this is a bounty table, as you'll see there. And I will tell you the details about that in a very little while. But that's très bien, most exciting indeed. I think you'll agree.
I do. In fact, I do. I think they all sound quite exciting, and I cannot wait to see them. So we have a couple of multi-tables there for you, and the cash games. So we will be taking a look first at the rebuy tournament, the MTT rebuy. Here it comes. So you can be talking me through, then, the general principles of Texas Hold'em.
I might do.
Really, if you feel like it?
Yeah. Well, before I do that...
Yes.
It seems only fair to let people know exactly what we're watching here.
Oh, that's fair enough, yes.
And this is what we call a rebuy tournament. And what that means is you pay once, but oh no, if you get knocked out, it's not like most of our tournaments where once all your chips are gone, all your chips have gone. You have, for the first hour of play, an unlimited amount of rebuys. So you pay your $5, you get your 1,500 chips. If you get knocked out in that first hour, you have the option to buy back in for another $5. So what you will see is that the size of the prize pool compared to the number of entries is disproportionate because most of these people would have bought in more than once.
I see, I see. So does that, I wonder, change the prize structure then, if people are buying in again and again and again?
It does, because for instance here we've got 57 players, but we've actually got $715 in the pot, in the prize pool, should I say.
Yes.
So what that's telling you is there's actually been 143 buy-ins.
I see.
So with 57 players, you don't need me to do the math for you.
Well...
But that means that everyone's had at least a buy-in and another one. What you also get is the end of the 60-minute unlimited rebuy period is also the option to have an add-on. So anybody, when it gets to the end of the period, they can bung in another $5 and get more chips before it turns into a freeze-out tournament. So it's very rare that anybody will get out of the tournament and not opt to come back in. But as I say, what it really means to you is that you've got much more money in the prize pot for what effectively after that first hour becomes a freeze-out. So what you will see is lots of people that might normally be fairly solid tournament players being a bit more speculative, a bit more aggressive, because they know that it's not like most tournaments where we always say the difference between tournaments and cash games is that get it wrong, get outdrawn, hat, coat, home, hat, coat, pants, socks.
That's right.
As you'll recall. So you will find people looking to make bigger moves earlier to build up their chip stack. So when it gets to that freeze-out stage, you've got far more chips on average than lots of the other guys that you're going to be up against, which is obviously a huge advantage. And in this particular one, we have 18 places being paid. Oh no, sorry, tell a lie. We have 10 places being paid here in our bounty tournament. The top prize being $214, all the way down through the structure, which we will come to when we actually start seeing these guys pick up the money. 10th place picks up $10. So that's the thing with this, is with 57 players in the top 10 being paid, you really need to get into those top couple to get anything like a return, especially if you have actually had 1 or 2 rebuys, because you know this could easily be a $20 tournament for you if you had your buy-in and a couple of rebuys and a top-up. So you need to be in that top 3 to really make the return worth investing your time and money in.
Yeah, no kidding. If I had done a couple of rebuys plus the $5 entry fee and I only came in 10th, I actually lose money, don't I? So
absolutely, yeah. And it's kind of really, when you go into rebuys, a lot of people accidentally jump into rebuys as we just whistle over to take another look at one of our tables in this particular tournament.
I believe we are actually going over to see the chip leader here.
Okay.
As well.
Oh yeah, is that MacMan with 4,000? So the thing is, you can see we're only at the first level. It's 10-20. So this is a result of the fact that there's no empty seats on this table. So these are players who have taken a risk, gone all in, got a call. And MacMan is clearly taking a couple of people down here because there's no way that you're going to manage to get yourself up to $4.5 grand at this early level of the tournament without getting a bit jiggy with it. So that's the truth of it. Is a lot more action, and then it drastically changes once that. Oh, that's a nice little pickup for Big Ad there. You're going to see Halley potentially lose a lot of money here depending on how Big Ad plays it. It's just slow played it. Nice. Halley is going to be out of position and make another bet. Big Ad should raise here. He's got himself trip 7s. He does. Bang. So, you know, again, would Halley ordinarily keep calling and betting? I don't know, but their game will no doubt change when we reach that freeze-out period.
So, yet another variation of Texas Hold'em.
Yeah, well that's the thing, the structures are very different. Some people like the rebuy, some people prefer the freeze-out. Obviously, the advantage of the rebuy is that you can afford in that first hour, as long as you're happy financing yourself, to be a bit more bonkers. Some people prefer the freeze-out because they know they pay their $5, that's it. That's my investment, I know exactly where I stand. Generally, going into rebuy, you should look at the buy-in and at least give yourself 4 times that. So treat a $5 tournament as a $20 tournament.
Right.
Because you are going to be up against people that are going to be more than happy, as we've already seen here. Like I say, only 57 people, but 143 entry fees, as it were, being paid. So the opponents you sit down with are not planning to only buy in once. And you will see that reflected in their play. So unless you are super tight and actually get a good hand that doesn't get cracked, because you know, generally you get a big hand, you make a raise, you push people out of it. In that rebuy period, people would call with far less hands, hoping to get lucky and profit from it. So it's unrealistic to sit in a rebuy tournament thinking you can play it as if it was a freeze-out.
Okay, that's good to keep in mind.
And just to explain why we have bounty at the top of the screen, is because this is, there's also a Stan James player in amongst this mix, and if you are able to take that player out, you get a little bonus.
Very nice.
There's actually a number of players in here from Stan James. Take them out and you get, I believe, 500?
No,
$50?
$50.
That'd be a nice 500, wouldn't it? Yeah, slight exaggeration.
We'll take out 10 of them.
But yeah, exactly. And you find this a lot in some of the live tournaments as well. You know, you find there are some of the superstar players coming to these tournaments, and just a little added bit of fun. If you manage to clonk someone out of the tournament, you pick up a little bonus, which is nice.
That is nice. Makes it, like you say, gives it a kind of an added incentive there.
Yeah, you find that a lot if you go to any kind of, you know, fun tournaments, kind of like corporate entertainment poker parties or, you know, whatever. You find lots of little bonus games and little elements in there just to target people, just to make people zoom in on the superstars. 4s, 6s and 10s, and I guess we're going to see this played a lot more aggressively than we would normally, again, because people are just looking for opportunities to make some money. No one's hit any part of that, which is a shame, because that could have been quite juicy.
Yeah.
But it's all good fun. And as this is an amateur night, I believe, it's also worth us just stepping backwards, just in case you haven't got a clue what we're talking about.
Ah, yes.
Let us tell you the game you're watching, the glorious game of Texas Hold'em, which is now undoubtedly the most globally popular version of poker. Wasn't always that way, but it is now, and there's lots of people exclusively play this game. Like most poker games, you are looking to build a 5-card poker hand. Pairs, 2 pairs, 3 pairs, full house, flush, all the stuff you know and love. But the sequence is different. You actually end up in this game with 7 cards to pick from, 2 of which are your own private hidden cards, which you're seeing right now, revealed because this is the way the program works. But everyone gets 2 cards to start with. You then see a round of betting, followed by 3 community cards that come face up on the table, even when it's not on telly. There's another round of betting, then there's a 4th card, a round of betting, and then the final river card, as it's called, followed by yet more betting. So it's a different game in that there's so much information available to all players. There's lots of bluffing, lots of posturing, lots of representing hands. But there's a great more deal in this, and as people learn more and more about the game, they realise just how much is in there to play around with. It's not just about your cards, it's about the information on the board and how people are reacting to it. The only other part to tell you about is the blinds. You'll see the D on seat 5. That button, as we call it, represents who is acting as the dealer. And in Texas Hold'em, you don't have antes where everybody just puts in an amount to get cards. You have blinds, and there's a small blind, which is to the left of the dealer, and a big blind, which is to the left of that player. And this, you will see, is dictated by the structure at the top of the screen, 15-30. We've got somebody there, the small blind's 15, the big blind's 30. And that gets the betting going, because every subsequent player must at least come in for that amount, just to build the pot up and make sure that everyone doesn't just limp into the hand. Other than that, it's really that simple, and that's the whole point of Texas Hold'em. It takes seconds to describe, but a lifetime to master. And you find that people go through different levels of learning, from first of all being very concerned about their hands, to then starting to appreciate what their opponents might have, to then thinking about the betting amounts, to then start thinking about their position on the table, to then start thinking about their position against other players, to then watching their players' actions. There's a lot to it, and you can't just suddenly absorb it all in one go. It does take a long while to pick it all up.
It really does, doesn't it? I think the first time that our own Nick Wellthall, who's been tutoring me a bit in poker, asked me why I made a move that I did, and I referenced the chip stacks of my opponents, the position I was at the table, and their previous behaviour in the game, I think he nearly wept with pride.
Was it like a father?
He was so proud. He was like a proud, proud dad.
Were they tears of joy?
They were.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is it makes a difference. And we always say this, you know, winning poker is about having an edge. And the more information you take, because there's a lot of information available to you when you're playing, the more information you take and utilise in your game, then the bigger edge you have over opponents who might not be doing that, might not be paying attention, might not be making notes on their opponents, might not be aware that they're about to raise into somebody who's hardly got any chips left. So they're going to call whatever you do. So if you're about to bluff by making a raise, well, the next guy is going to call whatever he's got because he's running out of chips, and little things like that.
Very important things to keep in mind. As you say, there are different levels of poker, so if you are in the beginning stages, it's okay to just think about your cards, but make sure that you realize that that's not the only bit of the game.
Yep.
Obviously, you can only concentrate kind of a step at a time.
Yeah, and you find a lot of beginners, they go, you know what, whatever I do, this guy here, he always, when I've got a hand, he always folds. When I'm bluffing, he always raises me. And it's because they are probably just privy to more of that information going in, and they're picking up your betting patterns. They've already decided that you are a rock. When you bet, you've got a hand. When you limp in, you're just trying to get lucky. So that's the thing. But at some point, that will start happening to you, and you'll play against other players where it's not like a big tell. Everyone imagines tells are huge glaring neon signs. It's like you just start to recognize something about the sequence he plays or the amount he bets, and you will start being the one where other people are saying, this girl, every time I try and make a move, she comes back over the top of me, or every time I try and limp in with a big hand, she folds. So it's all coming your way, folks.
It's all coming your way. In fact, we're going to start with that right now. Some people out there are looking for a bit of advice on their poker.
Gosh.
We are going to go straight to an email here, and this one is from Big Slim. Right, Big Slim says, hi there, I'm new to the whole poker scene, 2 months or so. Welcome to the poker scene. He says, I love watching your show. I try to catch it every night, girlfriend permitting. Well, yeah, I'm not going to say anything about that. Right, I started playing single table, sit and goes, in the last 3 weeks, and after a rough start and 3 deposits into my poker client's account, I have managed to strike a good balance and finish in the money enough times to sustain my bankroll. However, my cash game experience has been a little more on the bad side. Sometimes I win a major pot with a monster hand, but I always manage to blow the lot before I end the session. Any advice on how to play in a cash game? Should I be a lot more selective with the hands I choose to play versus the ones I play in my sit and goes? Or should I be trying to bluff my way into more pots? And that's from Big Slim. And you're definitely correct when you say that you need to have a different strategy between cash games and sit and goes, because they are pretty much fundamentally different games. When you think about it, the blind structure is entirely different. So that has a lot to do with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the difference you've got with cash games and tournament games is one of the big parts of tournament games is that the blinds go up either a certain number of hands or every 12 minutes or whatever it is. So there's a pressure on you in tournaments to keep moving, and a pressure on the other players against you to keep moving, to keep making moves, to change gears, to get a bit more busy with it. In a cash game, the blinds never go up. So if you're sitting in a 25 cents, 50 cents game, that is the level it's going to be at for the next 9 hours, the next 25 days, whatever it is you're sitting in there. So you will find that players are a little bit more selective because there's no pressure on them to play junk. Why would you play 7-2? If the tournament's like tick-tock, tick-tock, and the blinds are 5,000 and 10,000, any hand you're going in with. But in the cash games, you will find that mostly you're up against solid players. To take the very last question you put through, which is, should I be trying to bluff my way into more pots? Definitely not. Bluffing online in cash games just isn't a big part of the game. Cash games are much more about the maths. It's much more about chasing hands that you know mathematically for the number of times you will achieve, pay you off to the right amount. So you might find that you want to actually stick around on your tournament games. If those are where you're having success, I would actually say that rather than trying to confuse your brain if you're a newcomer to poker by trying to master cash and tournament, as Kara rightly says, they're very different animals. Tournaments, I think, are a lot easier to come into poker with because there's much more kind of gut reaction to tournaments. Yeah. You're very much following your instincts. You're feeling where somebody's got weakness. You're feeling where you might be able to bully people, because the difference in tournaments is if I try and bully you, if you get it wrong, hat, coat, pants, socks. It's going home. I'm out of this tournament. In a cash game, it's harder to push people out because they will chase the money, knowing that if the worst thing happens and they get this wrong, they can do what you've done, which is you reload and you come back into a game. So cash games are much more about patience. It's about chasing things like if you're getting the odds, if you're getting good pot odds to chase straights, then you follow them further than you might do in a tournament where you know, I'm about to start committing enough chips on a fingers crossed play where if I don't hit it, in a cash game, if I don't hit that straight, I lose some chips. If I don't hit that straight, I lose some chips. Next time I hit my straight and I make the pot odds back that covers that investment over a long period of time, those are the plays you can make in cash games. In a tournament, you chase it once and you get it wrong, you're out of the tournament. So there is a huge difference between cash, and there's a huge amount of literature. You're obviously an online player, so jump on the internet, do some general searches, go to our website. There's a lot of good discussions. There's some great strategy stuff available. All the magazines, the newspapers, there's no end to who wants to offer you their tips. And of course, watch us here, Poker Night Live. Every single night of the week, we've got tournaments, we've got multi-table tournaments and the cash games. And you will see, even if we just follow a game for an hour, you will see the difference between the hands you see played and how in a cash game versus in the tournaments when they get to the big blind stages. I just think watch out for trying to master both games at once, because it is difficult, and it's almost like you'll scramble your brain because you start to get into playing certain hands in situations, and if you're playing the same hands in the same way in both cash and tournament, it's not going to work for you. But it's a very interesting question, especially for somebody pretty new to poker. But we'd love to keep hearing from you. Do keep us updated as you go through and tell us what you find, because you will make your own discoveries. But do read up on it, because there's some really tip-top strategies out there, all for free.
That's true. And actually, if you do a search online, you can probably get yourself an odds calculator for your desktop. Or even lists of sort of common odds that you might see happening, because that might help as well, if you do want to do the whole cash thing.
It's something I said before, but when I started playing cash games where the maths does come into it, you're looking at how many outs you have, you're looking at what that gives you, odds-wise versus the pots, is I actually made a desktop background on my PC, which just down the side listed outs and what that equaled as a percentage and what it equaled as an odds, so that as you're playing, you recognise the situation you're in, you know what odds you want to see to validate your continuation in that hand. And because there's a lot of numbers to try and cram into your head. Stuff like that is a really good little move to do, just to get you rolling until it starts becoming second nature. But use all the tools out there, because there's enough of them. Thanks to the popularity of poker, there's no end to the tips you can find.
This is true. And now, speaking of cash games, let's go over to one and take a peek at tonight's cash game. See who's sat at the table. Right, it's a 50-cent $1 cash game. Thank you very much for that email, Big Slim. Now go spend some time with your girlfriend.
Well, yeah.
Or invite her to come watch the show with you or something. Really.
It can be done. Alternatively, you can always watch Poker Light Live on your laptop through Tinternet while the missus watches Gardener's World or Animal Hospital.
Oh, God,
or,
that's so sexist.
Whatever, hey, you know, or Ultimate Fighting Champions.
Hello, I've got a book written by the Ultimate Fighting Champion in my bag, sat right beside me right now. In fact,
Randy Couture or Chuck Liddell?
No.
Or
Ian the Machine Freeman, who happens to be a friend of mine, and
I've never even heard of him. And I've seen the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
he's the British Ultimate Fighting Champion of the world.
The British champion of the world.
See?
That's like the American World Series. And how many countries take part in the World Series? Just America.
Actually, Canada does as well, but you know,
Yeah, but that
doesn't
count.
matter, does it? No, he was British and he was the world champion UFC fighter for years. Bless his heart.
Well, what can I say? When I was in Vegas last, I did go to the MGM Arena and I did watch the Ultimate Fighting Championships, and it was wicked.
It is wicked.
Bloke got kneed in the head in the first 3 seconds, went down, stretcher hospital. That was $50 worth of entertainment.
Oh, that's awful.
Meanwhile, talking about dollars worth of entertainment.
Right.
Do you see how I did that?
Oh, I like what you did there.
Ooh,
I
just
do.
Through the back door. So here we are. So this is our cash table tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's a 50 cents, $1. And as previously mentioned, those blinds ain't going nowhere. You can sit here for as long as you want. You can let 100 hands go past. It will cost you $100 because you've got to keep paying the blinds. In fact, it will cost you more than that because there's a small blind as well. But the point we were just making to our new friend in poker, is that you don't have to play until you want to play. If you don't like your position, if you don't really like your cards, if you don't like the flop, if you don't like what somebody's doing, someone's coming at you with a big bet, well then you get out and you live to fight another day. There's no pressure on you to play it until you feel that you can optimize your situation. And here we see aces with fives very kindly raising it to 3. Red Devil has actually managed to pick up. Red Devil, yeah, he's managed to pick himself up a little draw there as well. A 4 would give him a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's no flush possibility. 8 ball. Decides that now's the time to start going, actually, do you know what? I do have a hand. Ouch. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now Red Devil. Well, that's probably 8 ball's mistake for not pushing back a little bit earlier. Slow playing big hands to get value is not something that works against all opponents because they might outdraw you.
Yes.
You know, is that it's a big dilemma. You get a big pair, you want to get some money out of it, and everyone folds. So the next time you get a big pair, you slow play it to try and oink a bit more money out of it. And then somebody goes and makes a straight against you. Somebody makes trips. Somebody shoots you through the feet. It will happen.
Less on computer poker.
Yeah.
More in the real games. With
Less
the
so
shooting
since the Wild West, I'll grant you.
Oh, yes.
But, you know, you've got to... And the truth is, it's only once you've had a slow play screwed up a few times, you realise that actually, you know, a bird in the hand and all that sort of stuff is sometimes you take the money down and you be happy that you won it. You start slow playing, you know, aces against multiple players, you start winning it 3 out of every 10 times. Playing it against a couple of opponents, playing it against heads up, you know, 4 out of 5 times it's yours. So, sad thing is, we can tell you that a million times, most people learn the hard way, i.e. by losing a fair chunk of money.
It's true. I mean, I didn't mean to slow play. In fact, I didn't slow play, but I have a tendency right now to get called no matter what I do and what I have and how much I bet. People just seem to call me for some reason. It's a streak that's happening lately. I don't understand it.
Is this when you're on the telly, or is this in your normal life?
Only on the telly.
But
when I'm playing under my other name, yes, that one, then it doesn't happen at all. It seems to be more of a normal game. But anyways, I had a pair of aces, and I put in a good-sized bet, 3 times a big blind. Someone called, as usual, and I thought, okay, fine, that's all right, you know, I've got a pair of aces. But then they went on to hit trips or some sort of bizarre thing, you know. It happens.
You're suffering from celebrity poker syndrome.
Really?
And I've said this a couple of times, so I apologise because people have heard me say this before, but talk to any of the big names, any of the kind of the previous world champions, and you say, what's changed in your game since you became world champion? They're like, I can't ever bluff anymore. I can't ever get rid of people. Whatever I've got, however I play, somebody will call because they are happy if A, I knock them out, and they can go and tell all their friends that I went up against the world champion, he took me down, he's a great player, I gave him a run for my money. Or B, or 2, I can't remember if I was using numbers or letters, or they beat them and say, yes, I took down Greg Raymer, I went in with 8-7 offsuit, and he had kings and the flop came down 8-8 something, and so that's your problem. Is I found exactly the same. I think Dr. Tom had the same thing the other night when he played Beat the Presenter. Everyone wants to get involved because if Monkey Chip won, or who Fizzlebug 12, if they get knocked out, well, whatever, they're gone. If you take out Dr. Tom, I
can understand
scouts.
that though.
So I think that's the same thing. I found that the other day. You can't really bluff. You can't really get away with murder because people are going, no, you don't. And they love to be the one that you then talk about at 12 o'clock when we come back and say, well, there's whoever taking you down with your King 10.
See, oh, don't mention the King 10. But I think you're being a bit charitable to me. I think that certainly is the case with the commentators, definitely, and with Michelle. And Lindsay's a good player as well. I think with me, it's more that they just don't trust me to actually have a good hand. Well, I don't think that they're actually going to go, yes, I took down Kara. No, because it's not...
Well, also, don't forget that they're seeing you. If we do have a lot of regulars, and we thank them all, for being on board the Groovy train. But the thing is, of course, when we watch the Beat the Presenter, all of our focus, or a huge percentage of our focus, is on our own or your player or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas, we're sitting with a table there of 7 other opponents. So we probably know, or as a community, the Poker Night Live audience stroke presenting team know more about all the individuals that play the Beat the Presenter, because we get to watch them and we really pick them apart. We give you a hard time for your King 10, and we give me a hard time for limping in all the time. Tom gets busted, But that's the difference, is everyone starts to know you really well.
Yeah,
and I mentioned this before. There was one of the previous presenters in the old days, in the first days of Pokemon Live, sit here for 5 hours when we used to do 5-hour shows, making notes on these players, and then go and kill them online. Because when you spend that long focusing on someone, you learn a lot about their bend patterns. You learn what hands they like to raise with. You find out what hands they like to limp in with. God. It isn't ethical, but...
Seems vaguely immoral.
Yeah,
but that's poker for you.
Yeah, that's what... Hey, it gave them an edge. Every good poker player is looking for an edge.
Yeah.
Toast you.
Look at that. What is it? Red Devil?
Red Devil.
Red
Devil. Well, it could be Red Evil, but I'm going to go, Red Devil. Well, he's kind of, I don't know if it's Red Evil and he's run out of letters, or he wants it to be Red Devil, but he thought it looked funny when it was 2 Ds. Who knows?
Red Devil.
I've made my mistakes with some of these names over the years. Yeah. Bono de. You forget Bono. Snap it, evening snap. Raoul. That's right, was it? It was
Raw Owl.
That's right.
Right, so
Who
there we are.
was your spirit guide? Was an owl or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
I won't go there again. Ace is going to slow down the action. So here we are, folks. Let's focus in on the game for a bit here. Snap It has position. There's an ace on the board. He has the pocket jacks. Another club gives his hand slightly more value than it had before. He makes it look like he doesn't trust Portman, or if he's just waiting for a check here that he can bet, which Portman might see as a steal. No, Snap It playing a cash game there, not taking any risks, happy to not be sure that he's guaranteed a win, so he plays it slower and he takes a pot. Plenty of time. Ace King, grossly overplayed hand in most poker games. On the button, minimum raise. Jack 6, no thank you. And again, that's a cash game. If this was a tournament where the blinds were ticking up and players were getting knocked out and you're getting close to the bubble, see people play different kind of hands. But Jack High is not good enough for Craven. Craven. Is it Craven?
Craven.
Yeah, my eyes are going.
Sea Raven.
Craven.
Yeah, that's it.
Craywine. Snuggle, is that Snugglebug?
That's Snugglebug. Or Snuggybug.
Snuggybug. But yeah, see our table graphics sometimes make it very hard to see exactly what word you're You're looking at, I thought that was poo ball for a little while, but it's actually Paul 8 ball.
Is it?
I
thought it was
oh, maybe it's poo 8 ball. I don't know. Who are you? What do you want? Do text us.
Oh boy.
Name exists. Another familiar name. And Redival.
Redival 1982. Right, Ace Jack suited.
Hearts, anybody? 10 hearts out. Anybody that's going to play this for the flush draw has their odds greatly reduced. There's about threepence left in the hearts department. Red Devil is in and hits the 2. Not a huge amount for poo ball. 8 ball. 8 ball is the name I'm going with.
8 ball, yeah.
Well, that's a bit of a speculative call by. There's only 4 overcards now. Oh, sorry, yeah, well, there are now. There's 4 overcards and the flush draw. But 2 pair also for Red Devil.
Yeah.
And sadly, 8 ball has nothing. Started off as a nice hand, but it didn't turn into anything. Suited Ace 9. Might fancy a little raise here. Yep.
Minimum raise, as you said.
Minimum raise. A lot of minimum raise, a lot of discussion about the people using lots of minimum raise at the moment, and you don't really know. Lots of people kind of. A lot of the counter bluffing that goes on. One of the most oft-quoted kind of tells is when people have a weak hand, they show strength.
Right.
When people have a strong hand, they try and show weakness. And it's one of the most oft-quoted sort of tells. Whereas a lot of people now are trying to play against that. So when they're actually weak, they act weak. When they're big, they act big, because people are. It's almost like people counterintelligence, because the amount of information there's, a amount of times, you know, you read that or you see it online or you hear a commentator talk about it. It's almost like the more people know the tricks, the more they're working against it. So everyone knows that on the button, lots of people make a raise to try and steal it. But the only problem is now when people make a raise on the big button with a big hand, they're going to get action because everyone thinks that's what's going on.
Yeah.
In the same way that if you just double the bet when you're weak, everyone will think, aha, you're trying to steal it, etc., etc. So it's, you know, people saying, oh, I don't like that raise. That looks a bit fishy to me. Actually, you've got nothing, and you're just trying to play with their heads. But this is not too bad. Craven would love it if a 7 came down. And Craven being a bit canny here, is using his position just to keep flat calling. Probably a bit, you know, bit ready to make his move now.
That's a bit of a move.
It's 11. Yeah, it's a big old move. It's, he could have made it cheaper there. He could have made it enough. He's got to know that he's not beat. Only the quad 9s are going to sting him. So I think that's probably a bit ambitious. But he makes some money, and in a cash game, that's all you want. Bit of profit.
Indeed, indeed.
That's a big, strong bet. Under the gun from the first round with Ace Queen. Everyone knows their starting hands. Ace Queen, Ace King. Pairs from 7 upwards, if you believe Phil Hellmuth.
Really?
Yeah, that's
from
what he says.
7 upwards?
7 upwards.
Goodness.
Yeah. 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, Jack, King, King.
Well, thank you for running through them for me, because I was unsure.
Well, you know, we've got 4 hours to fill there. Every couple of seconds I fill up with drivel.
And there we go.
Okay, so I think we're going to jump out there, just because we've got a couple of multi-tables going on tonight.
Yeah.
So we will come back. We promise we'll watch a game for longer than 10 minutes at some point this evening. But we're going to go and take a look at our multi-table tournament now.
Ooh, let's do that.
So a reminder, this is our rebuy tournament. Unlimited rebuys in the first hour and an add-on. 57 players. We're down to 43 now. 43 players out of original 57, so we are out of that initial unlimited rebuy period. And we have someone just under 8 grand is our chip leader, so you can see here that the short stack player is 675, which is one of the Stan James poker team.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned, as this is our bounty tournament, as well as it being a rebuy, it's a little bounty tournament, so there's a couple of Stan James representatives. And if you manage to scalp one of these guys, you get $50, which is not bad, because that's another added incentive to put your money in, apart from potentially, imagine you had one buy-in, one rebuy, and a top-up, $15. Top price here is $214. But if you manage to knock out a couple of these Stan James guys along the way...
Yeah. I would imagine as soon as Stan James here decides to go all in, because he's getting, well, he's not entirely short stacked, but he's got, you know, just under 7 times a big blind. Once he decides to go all in, everyone's going to call.
Yeah, and I don't know how they work it out as far as if a couple of people were participating in the knockage out. I don't know how they'll they work that one out, but I guess we can find that out.
Ah, yes.
Or maybe everybody involved, as you say, anybody that was involved in his demise gets a cut.
But it would be worth it even to risk your own tournament life, even if the rebuy period is gone and you're in the freeze-out, sit-and-go or multi-table tournament type thing. It'd be worth actually risking your tournament life.
Well, yeah, because you've got to come at least 5th out of 57 players to be making more than $50 return.
Yeah.
So as you say, you might go, do you know what? If you're in late position and no one else wanted to take on this guy, you might have a go at this and think, well, if I do succeed here, I do potentially risk getting out of the tournament, but this is guaranteed $50, and then I go on to see if I can improve on position and get some more money like that. But that's horrible. What a horrible flop for Perajac's there. Perajac's invested. He got a call. Another one of the Stan James poker team is in seat 8 with far more chips.
Oh, yes.
Player number 5. And he's got a draw. This is just, I mean, that's a really dangerous move. I mean, I guess he wants to take on the Stan James guy and he's trying to make a re-raise to push out the other Stan James guy. And it might work, but he's got 2 cards to come and he only needs to see like 2 to 1 to make that worth sticking around with. He doesn't. How about that for a river?
Oh. And
Stan James and Big Ad's going, do you know what? I've just given away a bunch of chips there. Look at that, folks. So he had him.
Yeah, I think everyone
He had
at the
him
table...
pre-flop, and then post-flop he was dead, and then it just went downhill from there. Yeah. That was not too happy with that. I think that was crazy by Big Ad there. Yeah. Because 2 overcards, Stan James Poker Team 3 is gonna be pot committed. Yeah, and I imagine everyone sat at the table is cursing Big Ad as well, because he's given SJ Poker Team 3 quite a few chips. Well, no, maybe not, because Big Ad could have taken him out, and there's $50. You know, these guys are laughing because they've got 2 of these bounty players. I don't actually know, to be honest, how many bounty players there are. At least 5. But to have 2 of them on your table, well, there's, never mind getting through, you know, the remaining 40-odd players. There's $100 to be had here. Pair of kings there for Big Ad, going to try and get some of those chips back. Yeah, that he invested in his attempt to kaplunk the bounty boy. And I don't know, that's another 300 to be out in position with a suited 10-6. I know I wouldn't play it. That's all I can tell you. I see. We're going to stick with the same tournament, just jump over and take a look at a different table here. Oof, feel slightly dizzy with that. There we go, and I believe we've got our small stack here is... Ivor. 830. Ace Jack was going to see him push all in. I'm sure even if it wasn't suited he would. Sadly, Mike Man has got a superior, and even Puppy might go, do you know what? I've got the best position on the table. He's going to try and isolate now. As it stands, a heart would be nice. Well, there you go. The 5s did the right thing there. He's actually taking 2 players out in one fell swoop. And he takes himself up to just under $5 in chips. Ooh-ah. Ooh-ah indeed, Kara Scott. Ooh-ah, go puppy. Go puppy indeed. Would you like to, any of the players we've seen, would you like to put your money on any of those right now? Anyone you'd like the look of? Wow. I don't think I've seen much of their play, enough to actually make that sort of judgment. I think if one of our regular multi-tablers is on here, like El Pig, I think El Pig is a very good multi-table tournament player, and my money would be on him. But I don't know if he's in the magic of the interweb, if he's there on one of the tables, I don't know. How about that? Look, you've already got your own favourites. I do, I really do. That's super. Isn't he? Oh, hello, I'm on the button, and I've got Ace Queen. So this is a good opportunity to use predictable moves. So people would expect, if this doesn't get raised up, people would expect a button to attempt to steal. So here this is perfect, because if he made it like 300 or 450 or something, he's got the added equity of people either not believing him or thinking he's on a still. And I just think that's a missed opportunity there. Because you might find that people call you with weaker hands than normal because they think that you're lying.
Wow.
Now he's going to make a move. And is that Mona? Mona's on a draw. Bradley needs to bet here because he's not unbeatable. In light of that, that's what we were saying earlier on, is you're looking at the flop and thinking, what do I need to be scared of? I need to be scared of 10 king. 10 king is not unbelievable to think that somebody would come in on the big blind with. Had you made that raise pre-flop, king 10, is that still a hand you put people on? Maybe so. We don't know much about Mona, but that's what you're always trying to do, is think, what should I be scared about a flop of ace, queen, jack? Anyone with a king, which is entirely believable, even worse, someone with a king 10 because they've already made it.
Yeah.
Do I believe that? You know, and that's what you're always trying to do. That's why you need to make these bets. I had a game last night where I got totally bamboozled by someone because I made a big raise and they called. And so therefore a couple of small cards came on the flop and I totally discounted them from being involved in that because I couldn't believe they would have called a big raise. So sometimes people will do it, but mostly your big raise is there to help you discount certain problems. So if the flop comes down 7-2 ace, you like to hope that you don't have to worry too much about the 2 because you made it so expensive.
Yeah.
You know, but you will occasionally run somebody who's just like mixing up their game. But that's the whole point. If you just limp in, and how often when you watch the big boys, all the big names, very rare that they just limp in because they know that they haven't got a clue what you've got.
Yeah.
No raises, no questions. What have you got? You could have any old junk. So regardless of the flop, you could hit any of it.
Yeah.
And then you've got to start betting post-flop, at which point there's all sorts of possibilities that could be represented. You know, before the flop, there's no representing going on. You either want to invest in your hand or you don't. If you're loose and you're aggressive or you're tight and you're passive, there's nothing more to play with than that. If you limp in once the flop comes down, well, could be all sorts of hideous things in the flop, and I start pushing you around.
In fact, Dr. Tom was saying very much the same sort of thing a couple of nights ago.
He's a very clever man.
You are both very, very clever men.
No, I pale in significance to the boy Tom.
Well, most of us do. All of us do, in fact, if we're going to be honest about it. But he did say the same sort of thing. Limping is just not something he really likes to see anyone doing. Because I was talking to him about how my real issue at the moment is that I'm getting short-stacked. It's not what I do when I'm short-stacked so much as the fact that I am short-stacked, sort of in the middle part of a tournament. And how am I getting there? Because I'm being too tight, or perhaps... yeah, I'm being too tight, or I'm not limping in, or I'm not stealing and that sort of thing. And he said, don't limp. There's no reason to limp. If you've got a hand, make the bet.
Yeah. Well, again, remembering that in the embrace of beat the presenter, that's not always easy for you because you are under the spotlight. But the rule I used to play by was if a hand is good enough to call with, it should be good enough to raise with. And it's an exercise that I've recommended a few people play, is play a game. And the only moves you're allowed is a fold or a raise. Because when you're only allowed to raise, it really makes you think about the hands you want to play. Yeah. And also, it avoids anyone stealing the initiative for you, and anyone that will laugh if they saw me play the beat the presenter, because that's so not how I played. But I think the thing is with beat the presenter, it's a bit like playing Omaha. You just want to get involved in every pot and actually hit something and then like make the best of it. But that's the truth of it, is if you don't want to try and limp in with 10-7, well, if you're thinking of calling this, think about raising it. Do you want to raise it? No. Right, well, that's not the hand you want to play. If you're not prepared to raise with it, then get out of it.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. So then how do I make enough chips to not end up being short-stacked halfway through a tournament?
Be much more lucky.
I wish I could.
Just get aces more often.
Okay.
Yeah?
I'll do that then.
Have you thought about that?
I'll hit the little button on the screen that says, give me more aces.
Yeah, and online you will find most sites do have a button marked, deal me aces now.
Really?
Yeah, or quite often it's a big lever you'll find under your desk. Is just pull the lever if you're not getting aces.
God, I wish. You know what? A lot of it is luck, and I know we say this sometimes, but it is true. I was down to 80 chips 3 nights ago, and I was on, I believe, with Nick Wealthall. I was down to 80 chips.
What,
I came
TV's
back.
Nick the Hair Wealthall?
TV's Nick the Hair Wealthall. And I came back from 80 chips to cash, which was pretty amazing. But the only way I came back is that I got dealt a pair, followed by a pair, followed by queens, followed by ace king. But, you know, I was incredibly lucky with the cards that I was dealt, so...
Yeah, but you know that's the thing is the truth is there's a lot of skill, but you do also need to get dealt some playable hands and to actually turn them into winning hands. You know, you can keep getting dealt ace king, ace queen all night long, but if the flop comes down jack jack something and there's 3 diamonds on board, well, sensible poker player tells you that if people start betting into you, you can't put yourself on a winning hand unless you think they're bluffing, which a lot of people we see online, they generally aren't bluffing a huge amount. You know, you do need to actually get some hands that hold up. And, you know, we can say how brilliant a lot of players are and how they always do well, but examine their game. It's not like they just got junk and they were brilliant. You know, you need to get some hands as well. Well, there's a full house. 3's full of jacks for...
No succel.
No succel. No succel. What's that?
No succel.
No succel. Is that how you say it?
Yeah. No succel knocked me out of my last tournament.
Oh, I see. That's why you know. I had intimate conversations.
He's a very good player.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that you know that, or is that just
yeah.
Supreme player? Yeah, took me out. Yeah, any player lesser abilities would have been in trouble.
Oh, but, yes, of course. Raw, raw, raw.
Ace Jack, Ace Queen. 2 big hands. Well, Ace Jack, I think they're in a late position. Ace Jack's not brilliant, but I think you can maybe try and do a bit more than limp in there. And now Auto Senior, if whatever, Auto SRJ, Surge, has got middle pair but a decent flush draw. And now G decides that now's the time to make the big move with the draw, looking for a 10 or an ace. That's not going to help Ace Jack. He still needs the 10. He's looking for 4.8 to 1 odds. Couple of hearts is now checking. Well, G now actually has the upper hand here. He has an edge if he wants to make a move here. He could well scare Auto out of this. 300 is the question, which is raised. He's probably still going to call this because he's getting odds to call this to chase one more card. It's another 300 to be involved in a £2.5 grand pot. Got 4 cards in the deck. For all he knows, it could actually include the aces. I'm surprised by that. There's £2.5 grand and he's asking for 300 to see the river, at which point the hand is over, you know exactly where you are. I would have thought that's the investment. Even if he calls it and he doesn't make it, he's still got 3 grand to play with. Surprising to put that much money in the pot and then let it go. Yeah.
You don't think it was just getting away cheaply?
Well, no, because he's got
the odds to call
outs. Because, well, he doesn't know, but if an ace hits, he takes that pot. Of
course.
So he's got 3 aces to hit. He's got 10 tens. How many 10s is there? He's got 4 tens to hit. And it is, again, the pot is 2,700 and it's going to cost him 300 to see if he can hit it. If he hits it, it's a big cash out. If he throws it away, he's saved himself 300, but he's missed the opportunity to take 2.5 grand. And it's not like he's short stacked. If he got that wrong, he's on 3,000. We'll look around the table. A lot of players here on this table would be happy to have only 3,000 left because you've got 3 of you guys. So I don't know. I think I would have found it hard to just say, do you know what? Because it's almost a guarantee. 300 quid to see the river card.
Yeah.
If you don't hit it, you don't hit it. But there's not going to be any more betting you have to get involved in. There's not going to be lots of cards you've got to chase. That's my point of view. Perhaps you disagree. Perhaps you'd like to get in touch and let us know.
Yeah, and if you do disagree with our resident expert for the evening, then you can send us an email, and we'd love to hear from you tonight, talking about any of your poker questions, poker problems. Feel free to disagree, to agree.
Punch me in the face, quite hard.
poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. That's how you can do a verbal punch. Because, you know, the physical kind, it's not nice, and I wouldn't suggest it. And I'm afraid that's where I stand on that. Now, when we come back, I will be playing Beat the Presenter on one of our sit-and-go tables. Whoa. And you will be in the hands of this lovely young gentleman. He'll be taking you through some of the multi-table tournaments again, looking at a bit of strategy, I imagine.
Oh, we always like to look at a bit of strategy, don't we?
After the break.
Hello there, welcome back to Poker Night Live. Matt and Kara with you tonight, and she's looking at you, but she won't be for long because she's about to go and play now Beat the Presenter slot, which we will then examine after the 12 o'clock break to see how she does. She is coming on nicely as a player, and we have very high expectations. We still have lots of action to come, as well as Beat the Presenter. We've got multi-table tournaments running tonight. We've got some cash games. We have some emails and texts coming from you, and we thank you for those, and we encourage more. Don't forget, folks, we love all of your questions, your comments, your points of view. If you would like to get in touch with us here in the studio, there's a couple of ways you could do that. You can text us on 84222, 84222. Please start your message with the word poker, followed by your question or point of view, and also a name. As well as texting, you can email us here, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, one of which we happen to have. And we're going to quickly take that before we jump down into a multi-table tournament and Kira disappears into her Beat the Presenter. Okay. So, this is an email that came in from Rob. Thanks very much for your email, Rob. Hi guys, I've been playing poker for over a week or two, very new player, great stuff. And after watching your Sunday show and last night's The Poker Challenge, the underlying message that I took was to be a more aggressive player. And up until last night, losing more than I was winning. Okay. I went online and sat down to play. There happened to be an aggressive player at the table who was forcing me to fold when I had the stronger hand by bluffing and raising against me when it came to a showdown. Quickly to jump in there, he's forcing you to fold when you had the stronger hand. Well, if that's the case, then surely if you know you've got the stronger hand, you want to push back at him. Anyway, we'll come back to that. So on one game, I was dealt a pair of queens and called the aggressive player who was sitting in the small blind when he raised. Fair dues. Might be suggestive that if you want to play with this guy, you might want to raise back at him at that point to find out if he's got anything or not, which is, again, a part of aggression is not just like getting involved in every hand. It's if somebody raises to you, we very rarely see people re-raising. It seems to be something that people are scared of doing. Two players folded and one bet. The flop was dealt, and the community cards were 8, Ace, 2, Rainbow flop. At this point, the remaining player folded. The aggressive player on the small blind bet, and I called. Turn was another ace. He bet, you called. The river was another ace. He went all in, and I did the same. So the final community cards we're looking at that 8, 2, ace, ace, ace. My winning hand was a full house. Aces full of queens, and his was a set of aces with a king, queen. So he'd been playing king, queen all along. My question is, was I lucky to call his bluff? I knew I had the stronger hand when the first three cards were dealt, but faltered a little when the ace of clubs was dealt on the turn. Just going to jump backwards before I read out the list. The thing is, you're saying, was I lucky to call his bluff? The truth is, what you've missed, and you're saying here, I knew I had the stronger hand when the first three cards were dealt. Well, why didn't you do anything about it? Because the thing is, you're saying you know he's an aggressive player, so that assumes that you've watched him for a while and you've sensed the way he plays. You've been dealt a pair of queens, and you've just called him. You then say that you know you've got the stronger hand after the flop, and you just call him. And then an ace comes down, and then you just call him. The truth is, aggression is a bit overplayed. Too many people go crazy with aggression. But there is a time to actually push back. And if this guy is running the table and he's being the table captain, when you think you've got him beat, push back at him. Because apart from winning this individual hand, you also let him know that you're not a player that he can push around. And you might find he actually eases off a bit. Because what bullies don't like is being punched back. So if there's somebody who you're saying is an aggressive player, always raising, always forcing you off, when you've got a hand to do it, go back at him. He won't like it. You might get more value than you would do because he's got an ego, or he might back off and then slow down a little bit. To be honest, to call his bluff, it doesn't really seem like you've called his bluff. You just keep calling because you've got queens. An ace comes down, you can't believe you got the best of it, but you call. Another ace comes down, you call. Another ace comes down. If you don't believe he's got aces, which you can't do because you just keep calling, re-raise him, make a push back at him. If you think you got the best of it, let him know, because it's very important with bullies to give him a prod back. You're saying that all said and done, I did win the biggest pot, so to date, so quite pleased, as you should be. Any win is always good for us. One final question, which has been discussed a lot lately, and that is playing an unsuited king with a 10. This is your king 10. I was told that to play this hand, it is best done in the middle position. Why is this?
Don't ask him that.
Well, the truth, I mean, the position. Put it this way, we talk about the gap theory, which basically means the later position you have in the table to act, then the weaker the hands you can play, because you have a lot more information coming to you. The only problem with playing King 10 at any point earlier than a late position is that King 10, if you get action after a raise, you're trying to put your opponents on a range of hands. King 10 could very easily be beat. I'm not going to list what they are, King Jack, King Queen, etc., etc. But King 10 is something that you really have to choose your moments to play. And you really want to be playing something like King 10 in the face of weakness from other players. If you're playing King 10 and somebody likes the flop and bets at you, suddenly you're like the other part of your email, which is that you are just kind of passively calling. You can't really take control of the betting. So that's my only problem with King 10 is you need to be playing it in a very controlling way. You want the initiative. No one's bet at you, so you make the moves, and everyone is under the pressure of your bets. What you don't want to be is kind of a bit of a calling station where somebody else is leading the betting and you're just kind of pleasantly calling. If you get lucky and you've got the better hand, you win the pot, but you're not winning the pot through your own movement. You're just winning the pot through the cards. So I would say you're doing well, you're getting involved, and you're clearly improving your game, but I think you just need to be a little bit more aggressive. If you think you've got the best of it, push back at somebody. At the very worst, you ask a question and they'll answer you, and you'll know then and then, actually this guy does have a hand or is such a big bully that is not going to be pushed around. And you've just got to adjust your game. But you're never really going to make a big imprint on a bully just by calling and calling and calling and calling. But welcome to poker. It's good to hear from a really new player. Do keep us posted, Rob. Really nice to hear from you, and thanks for your email. If anybody's got any thoughts about any of the issues we raised there, get in touch with us. Other than that, we're going to jump down into one of our many multi-table tournaments tonight. Oh, Kara, are you in a game?
I am in a game.
She's going to kick your ass. So here we are. This is our free roll. We watched quite a bit already tonight. Our rebuy tournament, but we've not actually checked in with this yet. This has been going for about an hour. We had 783 runners, and we're down to 312. So it's not taken too long to half the field. We're actually watching here the chip leader, which is in seat 1, Zapdos, with best part of 28 grand. Cyberman round in seat number 7 has got 390, and with the blinds, as you will see at the top of the screen, 75 150. He is going to be running out of chips fairly soon. No doubt going to be waiting for a hand to make a move with. So free rolls, again, if you're new to poker, new to the formats, free rolls are a beautiful thing because they're free. It costs you nothing to enter. A lot of the sites that run loyalty points, sometimes they ask of you to trade in some of your loyalty points you might have accumulated playing cash and paid entry tournaments. But what you'll find is these sites are promoting their sites, and they know there's a lot of poker players out there and they want your business, and that's a great place to be because they will put on lots of these tournaments. So here you have a tournament which is free to enter, and the nice people on the site have put 2.5 grand in. So you've got 783 people all for free hoping to win a piece of this. There are 18 places paid, but 5th place to 18th place, so it doesn't matter if you come 6th or you come 17th, 18th or 5th, anywhere in that range are going to get 50 bucks, which ain't bad for nothing, let's be honest. But you have got to get through 783 players and get down to that last 18. 4th place is 100, 3rd place is 200, 2nd place is 500, and top price is £1,000. So there's a massive incentive there. It's going to take a while. You've got to get through a very large field, but you could potentially walk away telling the story about how you made £1,000 for nothing. And it's a lovely feeling, and I won one of these myself. I won $915 in one of these free rolls, and it's brilliant because then any tournaments you use that money to enter with, it feels like, well, this tournament's for free. I know that's totally wrong because if you could be $1,600 in debt, but if you're not, any more money you make out of the tournaments you enter using that money, well, it's a gift. We've got plenty of players still here, say 300 odd left, plenty of tables. We'll pick one and settle down, but first of all, let's enjoy Zapdos's chip lead with a trips. Not going to get much action here. Seat 2 is going to be chasing that straight. Zapdos has made it expensive, which is the right thing to do. Trips is nice, but it's not unbeatable. You don't want to give people cheap cards, because if they outdraw you, it's going to be hard to get away from. And Zapdos, by the size of his chip stack, is not a fool. That's lovely for him. He has made quads. He has got 4 of a kind 4s. It's a shame for him that his opponent hasn't hit any part of the straight or the flush because he would get paid off. But that's 24 grand in the pot. Let us leave Zapdos to his chip stack. We will come back and check up with him a bit later on. Right now, oh, we're just in time to see dead money. live up to his name by leaving said tournament. Ace-Jack suited is the biggest hand we can see at the moment. Just going to flat call the big blind, which a lot of people, I was just listening to some interviews with some of the big names, and they quite like flat calling with things like Ace-King. Believe it or not, they think Ace-King's overplayed, and they want to just flat call to disguise their hands and to avoid scaring people off. Because they find in a situation like this, if people don't hit the flop, if it comes down a bit low, then Ace-King is actually a very strong hand to push people away with. As it stands, Guna, up the arsenal, had the top pair from the flop, now doesn't, but you won't be happy to see that. Heart will probably slow him down. He does slow him down, he checks. Poker bad boy might have been able to pick that up with a bet. Chose not to. Fisky boy, 110. He hasn't even got the big blind, so he is all in automatically. And Steve Dimebag also, he's on the button. He's got 75 pence left. He's going to have one more all with the table. I think Sigur's 18 there, just dumped queens, which makes me think he might actually be sitting out. So I can't believe he wouldn't have any part of that. Nobody has hit anything. Ace-10 is going to pick this up unless 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, Fisky boy actually makes the straight to the 9. 6, 7, 8, 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Lives to fight another day. I've been told to tell you that the clicking, the clickety-clacking you can hear is annoying you. That's our carer chatting away.
I am not.
Nattering and nattering and nattering.
Ah.
Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. You've got a game to play. Dead man picks up a pot. And there's Sigurd, who I'm absolutely sure now is actually sitting out the game because of the speed of his fold was too much for our cards. He has a little Poker Night Live logo. Pocket sixes. Fisky boy has just folded aces, and he is sitting out of this. And if he comes to watch back on this, he'll be gutted to know that he threw away aces in a late position. And he's going to get blinded out here. So there you are, that's our free roll, one of our 2 multi-tables tonight. We will be bouncing around, as is traditional, for maybe 1 or 2 hands here or there, who knows. Don't look at me. Kara's meant to be concentrating on her Beat the Presenter game, but I'm sure she is representing Poker Night Live to the very utmost of her abilities.
Thanks for the support there. Appreciated.
Do you see, that was actually, that could be taken as a positive or a negative comment. I'm just, you know, sitting on the fence, waiting to see what happens.
Right.
But we are now going to jump back down and stick around for a while. We pick up our $25.50 cash game. Oh, tell a lie, $50, $1. $50, $1.
Whoa.
That's a hell of a blind structure. 50 cents, $1. So here we are. These are the guys we watched a little while ago. You can sit down with between $10 and $100, $100 million. So looking around here, you would say pigeon head. You'd like to think he didn't come in for 100, because if he did, he's already down best part of 80 bucks. Red devil, Craven, snap it. Pigeon head was not on the table before, nor was Gerard. 8 ball was, Snugglebug was, were those new to the table. So we have some new players. Texas Hold'em's the game. Making money's the aim. Pocket sixes is not too bad, but there's a pair of 9s on the board, there's a queen on the board. Gerard will take that. Gerard's on fire right now. Let's hope he can make up for Rooney's departure. Cracking goal on the weekend. If Nick were here, he'd be rolling around in Liverpool coloured money. It's your turn to act, Kara, while you're busy chatting.
I know. I'm thinking about what I should do.
What, before folding? Before folding that junk?
Well, maybe I was trying to represent that, oh, it's, you know, I'm thinking about
just
it.
Mixing it up, mixing it up. Pigeon Head has decided that 4-2 suited is enough to make a move. Actually had the worst of it and would have been in real trouble if any clubs have come down, but his aggressive raise is enough to get Wurzo out, who's rewarded for his patience by Ace-King. An entirely playable hand. And Pigeon Head, who just made the move with 2-4 suited, picks up a reasonable pocket pair on the small blind. He's going to be out of position. He's going to be the first act if he comes along here. Perhaps a re-raise. Good man, good man. A re-raise, we like that, to find out if anybody else has been dealt something good enough to really invest in. Wurzo is going to have position after this flop. He will have the luxury of seeing what Pigeon Head does first. And he decides to push back. Pigeon Head now has to make a decision. And he decides to go all in. Welcome to Internet Poker. Nines are winning. Ace or a king is going to spoil the day. Well, as we speak, Pigeon Head is inserting his PC through the front door. That will be the river. One of the two cards. 6 outs there for Wurzo. He hits one of them on the river. It doesn't feel good, but that's the way poker is. You pay a big pair. It was always going to be a race, and Wurzo won it. Already up to $29.55 more than he sat down with. A 7 would make Snap It very happy. Snuggles thinking, I think I'm going to make this too expensive for you to sit on a draw, which he does, which is fair move. Plenty of diamonds, plenty of clubs. Well, 8 ball. It's a strange position to try and make a move from. He's just raised it up. Can't really think the ace-3 is that strong. In a cash game, maybe he just thinks time to make a move. We can see the cards, and actually his timing's pretty good. No one really had any particular hands to play with. They might choose to just give it up. Lovely, still there. Picks up the blinds with very little to talk about. King, queen for Snap It here. 2 8 9s on the board and a pair of 5s. Wurzo might try and limp into this and hit the flop. He does. In early position, that's probably the safest thing to do. If he gets raised, he can decide whether he wants to cross his fingers and call. If he raises here and gets re-raised, he could end up throwing money away. So a limp in early position, I don't mind. I am the limper. King, queen. Be interesting to see if Snap It likes this now with that flop, if anybody bets into him. If 8 ball doesn't, Wurzo could make a little bet here just to find out if anybody's hit any part of that. 2 overcards. Second to act, 2 more players. I like that. Asks the question, has anybody got a hand that they fancy either fighting with or continuing to draw with? I think he's going to find the answers no. 8 ball would need runner to beat that. If he's going for the straight, any other pairs would have taken him out, of course. Here we see a couple more big cards down. 3 of the queens are out, the king, couple of aces, bag of peanuts. You're very quiet over there. It's quite disconcerting.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm being very quiet. I'm being
eerie.
very focused.
I can't hear you clacking on your keyboard at all.
No, I'm focusing. Thank you.
Well, ace king, early position, decides you want to fight. Up to no good. Queen 2, another $4.50. I think not. No, quite rightly folds it. Live to fight another day. Another nice starting hand, especially on the button. The button has the added bonus of making a raise on the button quite often is misidentified as you trying to steal the blinds. Not so prevalent right now in a big tournament if the blinds are high, where in fact lots of people prefer to make money by stealing blinds than actually getting involved in big pots. They want to win lots of little pots and not get involved in too many tournament risking big pots. But again, remembering we're looking for opportunities to make profit, just keep ticking over in the cash game. You might be here for hours. Who knows, maybe you haven't got much on. Well, Ace Queen's actually still got the best of it. Snap it, gets a free card and now picks up the draw, decides still not to bet at it. Now snap it. Managed to get a couple of free cards but didn't hit anything. But a bet here could well be profitable. It's a big bet, half the pot, and 8-ball can't really call this. Unless he just senses it's a steal, does he really want to risk going down to $40 to find out if Snap It's stealing? He doesn't. He who bets quite often wins in that situation. Everybody's checking. Clearly people either have hands that they don't really like or they're sitting waiting for a draw. Somebody makes a bet, they may well pick it up. Ace Queen in the small blind, another position where a raise could well be viewed as a steal and get more action than it deserves. Just making up the big blind in this position is not advised. Good move, makes the raise. He could either get paid off or he just wins the pot here and here. Up to no good's having a think, or maybe he's chatting in the text box. I understand a lot of players like a bit of that. I very nearly accidentally read out Kara's hand there, which she won't thank me for. Just if anybody wants to send cash in an envelope, I will tell you what she has.
Well, I do never bluff.
Jack Queen versus Jack Queen. Clash of the equal average hands. I'm sorry. Kara's looking at me asking for advice and I'm
I'm gesticulating wildly, but I'm not actually asking for advice. Thank you. Oh, and now it folded me.
What on earth are you doing?
I was talking to you.
Press the button.
I was talking to you and it folded my hand.
Well, why on earth didn't you just... Oh, my God. That was incredibly...
Oh, I can't believe you did that.
I think everybody knows that I didn't do anything. You had so long. You'd been sitting there staring at that button
talking to me.
For minutes.
I'm playing poker.
You were looking at me gesticulating. Going, nyeh, nyeh. Cool,
that was
cool.
Right then.
Some people will never learn. Well, I think we all learned a lesson there. Feisty is the word I think used to describe mental people like you.
Oh, shut up.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. What are you like? As Kara makes another smashing move.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, she's angry. We see two pair running into a draw. A draw which now becomes a pair, which could be bad news for Broscow. Welcome to Moscow. Do you say Moscow or Moscow? Where you come from?
I'm not talking to you.
She's sulking everyone. Oh, she's angry.
I'm so not talking to you.
I just can't. But I know. Don't blame me. You took forever to make a really simple decision seem like something that needed thinking about, just so you could ham it up for the cameras.
Oh, stop it! Call me a ham now.
Ace-4, ladyboy. It looks like aces, but it isn't. Closer examination reveals it to be what it really is. Ace-4. 9-10 suited. Packed full of possibilities in late position if no one bothers to raise this up. What did I say? 7, 8, 9, 10 jack, as previously advertised, packed with possibilities if no one raises it up. Would 9-10 suited have called in face of a raise? Maybe in late position, maybe not, don't know, but as it stands now, just going to flat call this. Brosco gets out. 8-ball probably won't be happy to see the hearts draw and the spade draw on board. But gotta really like this position. Flat calling it. Could now be looking at a split pot, but probably quite happy about that still. Snugglebug is kind of like hoisted by his own petard as he's betting at this, and now he has to, and now that 8-ball knows that, is very confident about, doesn't believe the flush, and Snug's going to have to let this go really going. You know what, I had to go. 73 in that pot, nice pot. And that's the point that is both the brilliant thing and also a dangerous thing. We're only looking at 50 cent $1, but the pot there's 73 bucks. So don't be misled by the seemingly small size of the limits. One of the things that you might want to take into consideration when you're picking a game to play in, most of the lobbies, they will show you lots of information. Obviously they're packed, sometimes a bit busy on the eye. Let you know how many people are watching, how many people are waiting, but it also tell you what the average pot size is. And you can get a lot of information. It might seem like a small detail, but you compare, you might have 3 50 cent $1 tables in a row. And if you look at what the average pot size is, it will tell you a lot about how aggressive, how loose, how much people like to throw their chips around. And coming to this table with 75 in that. That's a nice little turnaround for 8-ball. Ace-9 suited versus Ace-8 with a pair of threes round in the small blind. Might be tempted and might get away with just limping in here. Wurzo's got a weak enough hand that he might just let this go unless he really feels like battling out. It's not a great flop for any of these guys. Up to no good has hit the middle pair with top kicker. But the flush. Lots of gnashing of teeth and wailing going on again.
Oh, you're so winding me up.
I know. That's exactly why I'm doing it.
Oh.
Wow.
Shut up. It's so unfair. Ah.
Oh, everyone here has slowed down just simply because of that flush, scary flush possibility. Wurzo's actually got the best of it as far as panicking about the flush goes. Up to no good sees yet another overcard come down. Wurzo's just going to have a little prod at this. A 6 gives him the straight. A spade gives him the flush, but I can't imagine he likes the flush because he's got a very small end of it. And that doesn't help anybody. I don't think we're going to see a huge amount of chips go back into this. Be one of those he who bets wins job. Check, check, and the Ace-9 takes it down. Not a big pot, not exactly 75 bucks. I bet you wish you could hide your screen, don't you? Really?
I do. I can't even concentrate with you looking.
The beautiful thing, folks, is this is a win-win situation for me because whatever she does, I just make her face like, oh my God, what were you thinking?
I can't
Even if she makes the best move in the world, I've only got to look at her in a kind of a, are you sure? And she just falls apart.
I am. Not.
You really, like, your hair's all starting to fall out. Your wig's slipping.
Oh, don't let away all my secrets.
Pair of 7s on the button for Wurzel, which for some reason makes me want to use a kind of a farmer's accent. Wurzel. Go on, mate, make a raise. Everyone will think you're sitting out of position. But actually, no one's going to call you anyway, I don't think. Jack-7, no. Not the worst thing that can happen to you. Cards come down, you got about 93% chance of seeing overcards. King suited on the button. These guys are getting some nice hands, but they're getting them in nice positions. They could actually find some action here. 8-ball, I think, trying to repeat move of something he did previously, but in a much better position. He's trying to use his late position here to see if he can make a minimum raise and steal. Has run into some decent hands. He has King-Queen beat right now. But Ace-King is kicking him around the room. He's now got 2 big players ahead of him. He has position on them, and he may well be kicking himself for throwing away an ace, but he'll be happy when this comes to a showdown. No one's going to like the clubs. Neither of them wanted clubs. Gerard wanted aces, up to no good wanted spades. And Gerard, the fact that he is under the gun but still happy to bet out may be enough to push up to no good off this. Always got to be thinking about the position you're going to be in. There they are for the first time tonight. Pocket snowman, beautiful hand. Very lucky, apparently, in some places. One of his 8s is in Wurzo's hand, one of his 8s in Snappet's hand, so it's not a hand that's going to improve. He doesn't know that. Going to do what many people would fancy with that, just try and limp in with a multi-way pot and hope to hit. We know that that's not going to happen because there's no 8s left. Unless, of course, this is one of those rare decks that has more than 4 cards of each suit, each rank. Don't see many of them these days. Very popular in the 60s. Made all of that last bit up. Ignore me. A 9 would be nice for Wurzo. Can't really fancy trying to take control of the table. But at least he's a player who is happy to put questions out there. If he could see the cards against him, he might not fancy it, but he's taking the initiative. And sometimes that's the strongest thing to have. This was a point I made. We were talking with Rob's email earlier on, and Rob was the player that got dealt queens. He's up against an aggressive player. He thinks he's got him beat, so he calls a bet. And there's a huge difference to the power you have when you are leading the betting and you are taking the initiative to when you're just calling. Because you don't learn anything. All you learn is that when I call this guy, the next round he still bets, so I call, and the next round he still bets, and I call. It's a very passive way of playing. Rob went on to win the hand, so good luck to him, but it's a dangerous way to play. Each their own. Sausage, chicken, bacon. 10s on board, 4 on the table. 8s, that'll be another pair of 8s for Gerard. Two ace-kings on the table as Coconut Lives. Kara Scott has a small mental breakdown.
Sorry.
No, you dance, girl. You go for it, girl.
Oh, I was just having a bit of a dance there.
And Snappet will make a move. Craven might like this. Does. Unless any one suit comes down heavily. If lots of hearts come down, Craven will be happy. These could just raise each other up all night long. At some point somebody's going to have to either get out of it or just agree to see a flop, unless they're going to do that classic all-in move that's become so popular across the internet. There's only 49 in the pot, but why not make it 130? No, gives it up. Fair dues to you, Craven. You'll not be happy to see that on telly, but at some point you need to either try and play post-flop, which we don't see as much of as I'd like. But he just thinks, you know what, Ace-King, there are times to let that go. You've made a move, someone's made a move back at you, you've got to start considering what you've got. I think I would have preferred to actually try and outplay an opponent on the flop. Snap it, another entirely playable hand in late position. His raise gives him position. Don't forget that's something you can do pre-flop. Even though the button's the best position, if you're in the cut-off, i.e. the one before the button or even a space before that, just by making a raise, you can actually then give yourself the best position for following rounds of betting. Pair of 6s for up to no good. Going to limp in. Hope he gets better. Snugglebug, I guess, is going to do the same. Just limp in and see if he gets better. Ace-7's probably going to limp in, and King-2 probably going to let them. Up to no good does indeed improve, and that's a lot of the time a thing to do with a small pair. You don't really want to get into a fight with anyone. The good news for him is that Wurzo has hit a part of it, but everybody limps, and when everybody limps, you don't learn anything about your opponent. So Wurzo can't say, could he have 3, 6, could he have a pair of 3s, could he have a pair of 6s, you know, there's nothing you can discount your opponent from having, simply because you didn't raise. If you'd raised before the pot, then you're going, how likely is this guy to call or raise to $4 before the flop with a pair of 3s or But right now, he's hit a part of it, but even worse if he goes on to improve. Up to no good has the advantage of position, so any bets he might even look like a steal to Wurzo. Wurzo might like that steal. 19 in the pot. It's another 3 to him. Does the right thing. You can't know anything about your opponent's hand when everyone's limping like that. Gets a suited ace-10. Not a huge amount around the table, which I don't need to tell you because you can see that. Thanks to our superb technology up here in the Poker Live blimp, high above the normals. Folded very quickly all the way around. Wurzo, who we've seen ticking away nicely since he joined the table, makes a move in the small blind. Ace-7 would be a very speculative call. What sort of a flop do you want to see? It's almost like, really, with ace-7 you'd rather hit the 7 and have a middle or top pair with a good kicker. Hitting the ace, it's a weak ace, and if anyone bets at you, you're going to end up losing money. As it stands, Wurzo's going to try and fire another bullet at it. It's kind of a bluff because he's not hit any part of it, but he does have a decent hand. Up to no good now is really sort of searching and scraping said barrel bottom. Gives it up, which was kind of on the cards considering how he limped in. A nice sort of sequence of cards here. Small blind gets ace-king. What's he going to do? He's not got much in the way of opponents to try and cream any money off. Well, that's not a flop that's really going to promote too much betting. Gerard could just take a small pop at this. There's only 7 in the pot, so there's not a huge amount to be gained. Doesn't do anything from anybody. We could just see this check down to a showdown, which the ace-high will win. Gerard could really do with just making a small bet, even a couple of dollars here. $1, $2, just to find out if you got anything, which now he does. And now if he feels compelled to make a bet, he could get a call. If he doesn't, I'm sure he's going to see a bet back. Okay, well, all I can guess is up to no good didn't believe. He must have thought that Gerard was trying to slow play some part of that, and thought better to just check and find out than invest any money and find a re-raise coming back at you, because then you've got a decision to make. But again, maybe a little bit more aggression would have picked somebody up that pot just on the basis of bothering to make a bet. Ace-queen suited, runs into ace-king off, and a pair of 4s on the big blind. Six, 8, 3, rainbow flop of no use to anybody. Ace-3 makes use of his position in light of check-check. Ace-king just calling, which is probably kind of scary for Snugglebug, because they're thinking, well, the guy likes to call with 6, 8, 3. What does he have? Because right now I've got no part of this, and I haven't even got a draw on the go. I've just got 2 big cards that haven't actually turned into anything. Well, that's a pretty juicy bet, half of the pot. Ace-queen in an early-ish mid-position with the raise ahead of you. Folds it, and that was, I think, more about the position than the cards.
9. Jack 9 picks up the big blind. King Jack, King Jack. Couple of King Jacks going to have a fight here. I think 8 Ball will want to get involved with this unless Snugglebug raises up, because we've seen him come in with lesser aces. Ace 3, Ace 5 we've seen him play. In light of that raise, he might just give it up. A lot of people like to call with Ace anything when it's suited, because it's a long shot, but if the flush comes down, they know they're chasing or they're going to hit the nuts. I think it's the right move. I don't think you have to play a hand like that in a cash game. King Jack suited on the button. It's $3. Snap It has nothing invested in this. He's actually got a slightly better hand than Snuggle, as they are suited. And he also has a slightly better hand because he's got position. But he has nothing invested in the pot, and he doesn't fancy it. And that's fair dues. And Zowie, God bless probability. In one hand we've got a pair of aces, we've got Ace Queen suited, and we've got Ace King suited. Aces versus Ace Queen versus Ace King. How's up to no good going to do this? Minimum raise. Another sneaky sneaky. Fives. You've got to worry about Bosco's raise, because you're going to know. Sorry about the clacking.
Sorry.
That's okay. You've got to worry about Bosco making that move, because he must know he's going to be in early position for the next round, and yet he's still happy to lead out. It's not the best flop, to be honest, for the aces because of the 9s. Anybody playing, you know, 9-10 suited, it's a bit unlikely, but you don't like to see it. The best thing to do is exactly what Bosco's done here, is to bet out and find out. Anybody that's going to, in light of that flop, come back at you, clearly fancies a fight. Up to no good has a brilliant starting hand, but that flop hasn't done anything for him. Okay, there you go. Aces wins. Nice bit of cash action for you.
Nice bit of cash action.
Scott's joined us back in the studio.
Well, hello.
Now, not gonna share with us yet how it went. We'll save that for after the break.
I kind of, well, seriously, how many times have I played on Be the Presenter? Right, no, I'm not even going to go into it.
Let's just move on to the emails.
Yeah, let's move onto the emails. So, have you done the email from Bulgarian?
No.
I'm going to do that because he asked me particularly in the chat box to read out his email, and I think I will.
Favours?
I know. I'm playing favourites here. Right, this is from Bulgarian. He says, "Hi, delectable Kara, an increasingly funny Matt." Increasingly funny.
Well, you know, start at the bottom and work your way up. I hope to be vaguely amusing by next December.
He says, "Kara, I must congratulate you on your recent comebacks from 80 chips. But tonight, I outdid you. On a 10-seat table with 2 out, I was down to 20 chips and saying my goodbyes. 3 times, I went all in on the spin. 3rd time, hitting quad 9s. Boy, did I laugh. Amazingly, I went on to win. Anyways, Matt, advice please, if possible. Been playing for 3 months now, and I'm doing okay. My multi-table tournament play is coming on. My best finish was 5th. What I need is help with patience. I can play 2 hours with only bits of impatience, but when I get to the top 30, even if my chip stack is very healthy, I start to get very impatient and start playing really stupid hands. Pays off sometimes with my image, but more times than not, it's bye-bye tournament. How can I get rid of this aspect of my game? Your help would be greatly appreciated, Matt. Keep up the great work, everyone. Everyone does on the show, and Matt's jokes are pretty good. Accents even, but please no more gurning."
No more gurning?
Really? Were we gurning?
I don't know what you mean. I feel your pain, Bulgarian, actually, because I suffer from this myself. It's a common complaint. Because especially in the multi-table tournaments, it's almost like you've done so well, you get to the late stages. And then I find I'm like, oh, just resolve. Either make me a big chip stack now or get me out of here, because this is starting to wind me down. The truth is, you just need to find out what needs to be done, and this is going to be external input. For me, I find that I'm multi-table. If I'm in a big multi-table game, I'll probably also play a cash game, or I might even play a couple of little sit-and-goes, like silly little sit-and-goes, $3, $5, not because I'm really doing that to make the money, but just so that I don't get so bored of staring at my multi-table tournament for 4 hours that I just start going ace-10, yep, I'm all in, 9-10 suited, yep, have it. Browse the internet, watch telly, play music. The truth is there's probably little you can do. If just playing a multi-table tournament isn't enough to keep you engaged, find other things. But you need to find the balance between keeping your brain ticking over and not losing your patience. But also you don't want to get too distracted, because you don't want to have done all that hard work in the early stages of multi-table. You say you finished, best finish was 5th. In multi-table tournaments, I mean, you've not said, but there's 300, there's 900, there's 2,000. You know, finishing in the money in multi-table tournaments is very profitable. It's very difficult as well. We see that every single night. But the truth is, you just need to find the level for you. Sometimes I read a magazine on the keyboard, kind of half watching what's going on, see what people are doing, keep tabs. You don't want to miss out on vital information that could save you later on in the tournament, because you get down to the final table, all of your opponents could have been watching the other players very closely, and you've been fiddling around, and you've missed out on that. But that might actually not be as damaging as playing like a loony. So you need to find a balance. But other than that, you're just going to have to find other things to amuse yourself. Shockwave games, quite funny. Little puzzles, doing little things in the side, but not that distracting that you can't still play. Are you laughing at me?
Yeah, I'm picturing you do like Sudoku or something while you're playing poker.
Yeah, no, actually, that's funny enough. I do. I just do something else to keep me ticking over. So, truth is, I can't give you any real tips, because I don't know what it takes to keep you switched on. Coffee, window open, radio up loud. Same thing as driving home from Heathrow after a long flight. Keep your brain going. But if you find any mystery, or perhaps if any of our other viewers have got any really great ideas, if they found this same problem with long multi-table tournaments, do let us know, and we'll pass that all on and chuck up on the forums any good favourite reasons to keep going. Perhaps, you know, Sky News, BBC, keep abreast of current affairs.
Ah, yes.
But thank you for your email.
Yes, thank you very much for your email, and we have time, I think, for one more quick one before we go off to a break. Now, this one is from Ian, and it's a little bit, it's a tip, actually, for me, for my play. He says, I was watching the show the other night when you were playing your Beat the Presenter game and didn't seem to be having much luck, because everyone was either calling your raises or raising your limps and pushing you out of pots. That's true. I'm a pretty successful $200 to $500 sit-and-go player, and often use a particular strategy on very aggressive tables, and I thought that it may work for you, bearing in mind your table image. During the first 3 levels of the blinds, when you want to enter an unraised pot, limp in with any hand that you want to play. Don't raise. If you have limped in with a premium hand like ace-king, ace-queen, ace-ace, kings, queens, jacks, maybe a pair of tens or ace-jack in late-ish position, and someone re-raises you, then come over the top of their raise for roughly 5 times the size of the pot. For example, if the blinds are 10-20 and you limp in under the gun with ace-king and one person raises 80, leaving around 100 in the pot, then re-raise him to 500. Wow, okay. If 2 people call, making around 200 in the pot, then go all in. As long as you only make this play when you have a good reason to believe you have the best hand, you will never be in worse than a 50-50 with anyone, and will often dominate your opponent if they chose to call you. Although given the tightness of the table and your image, I don't think you'll be called very often initially, because they will all read you for aces or kings. Playing like this will help cut down on your chip leakage during the early stages, and will eventually allow you to see many more cheap flops with low pairs and suited connectors, because your opponents will become fearful of re-raising you. That's fantastic. He says, it's just a suggestion, you can take it or leave it, but I think it sounds really good.
Yeah, it's almost like the strategy you'd employ if you had an aggressive player to your left. Is that if you know they're going to raise you, you limp in knowing they'll make that bet for you. And as you're against a whole table of aggressive players, that'll probably work. So good tips. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're going to be back after the break. Stay right here. Hello and welcome back to Poker Night Live. We are still here in the early hours of, well, ish of this morning, and we will be for the next couple of hours. This hour we are going to be looking at the Beat the Presenter slot, and maybe getting a bit of an update on the multi-table tournament if there's time for that as well. But before we go into that, we had a really good email right before the break.
I just wanted to pick up, because we kind of ran out of time. We had a long email from Ian, I believe, that was a bit of advice. We were actually picking up on the Beat the Presenter games and how they tend to be very hard to make any moves. And Ian had said, watching one of Kera's games, Every time she tried to limp, someone would raise. Every time Kerr tried to raise, somebody would re-raise. And he had a basic strategy that very, very kind of cut down, was saying, whatever move you would normally make, actually bring it down a level. So if normally here you would make a bet, limp in, safe in the knowledge that someone will make that bet for you. If you're planning to raise, then just make a medium bet knowing that somebody will make it bigger. And it's kind of what I was suggesting, is it's a bit like we had another email earlier on in the evening from somebody who was sitting at a table with a bully. And he made the mistake of just kind of calling and calling and calling. And the point that I liked about Ian's email is it was specifically about the beat the presenter, but it's actually like a really good strategy for if you have aggressive players to your left. In Beat the Presenter, almost everyone at the table is kind of acting as an aggressive player. But I play quite often with a guy, and if he's to my left, I know that if I attempt to limp, he is going to raise me on principle. So the thing to do is exactly what Ian's saying, which is if I've got a big hand, if I look down and I've got a pair of tens, say, and that's a hand I would normally make a move with, I would just limp in, safe in the knowledge that he's going to make the raise. And it's, apart from the fact that it puts him in a position where he's going to invest more in a pot that I want him to invest in, it also draws attention away from me. There's nothing better than when you've got a big hand and someone else on the table makes a move, because everyone's focus shifts to that player. And everyone else looks like they're just calling, and everyone's very worried about him, where in fact they should be worried about you. So it's a really good play, is that you, whatever move you're about to make, step down. If you're about to make a raise, you make a bet. If you're about to limp, etc., 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 is let other players take the initiative. Let them do your bidding for you, as it were. So in your position, you know any limp is going to get raised. So when you want to raise, limp, because you know what's coming your way. But it's very much about sussing out the players on your table and getting them to do what you wanted to do, because you know exactly how they tick. But it's a good email, and we thank you for it.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm going to send it to myself at home so I can have a proper look at it, because I think it's great advice, and I do want to have a more in-depth look at that. Speaking of in-depth looks, let's have a look at the Beat the Presenter slot. This is a $5 sit and go. Here we go. Once again, into the fray.
And I'm also avoiding gurning at the camera.
You are. You're doing really well with that.
I know. I didn't realise I gurned that much, but obviously so. So, great Scott, first hand, fish hooks.
Yeah, I'm thinking no one's going to ever believe that I've actually got a hand here.
Well,
but I'm going to make the standard raise anyways.
I like where you're coming from.
I'm sussing them out. A lot of these players I've not played against, I don't think. So, you know, I don't really know what they're like.
Well, you've got yourself heads up.
I know, with 5-7 suited, and I thought, I don't know Ryman. I don't think he's a player that he's not a player I've seen. I think he's new. I don't think he has anything.
No, I've played against Ryman before.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen him around.
Oh, okay,
I've seen him around.
Then I called it wrong, but I still didn't think he had anything, and yeah, I just was not gonna play.
Well, 2 clubs, 2 threes. Ryman first to act. No one wants to look silly too early in the tournament.
True.
Ryman makes a bit of 80, puts 210.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
And so you raise.
Well, I'm thinking, okay, it's possible that he's got a king something, right? It's eminently possible he's got a king something, but for the sake of 80, yeah, I'm going to take a look at it.
Okay.
I don't trust him. I really don't think he has anything.
All I would suggest, the only thing I would say there is maybe then raise. Because the thing is, if you don't believe him enough that you're going to call it, well, then maybe you want to actually push it back on him a bit.
Of course, and then don't let him see the last card
because
so cheaply.
The only problem is, you call, and then a queen comes down, which is yet another overcard to yours. I mean, you're lucky because he doesn't hit it. But do you know what I mean? Is that
I do.
If you don't believe him, you don't believe him.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be that much harder to go from calling, because calling him says, I don't believe you've got this.
Yeah.
So that must think you've got the best of it. Again, it's like our friend Rob. If you think you've got the best of it, make him pay for it.
Yeah.
Because then if he hit that queen,
you're right.
You've been done out of a pot that on the flop you were winning, you knew you had winning. I'm not going to kick you out, it's early doors. You made money out of it, but you were lucky because you practically gave him that.
You're right, I did.
Because he's already put his 800, his 80 in. So by you calling, you're actually giving him that next card because his money's already in the pot. If you push back at him for even 160 or 320, well, now he's got to either fess up that it was a lie, or he comes with you, and you know that if he bets on the next round, at the very, you can't not take him seriously because he's prepared to push his chips.
I should have asked that question. You're right, and yeah, I see exactly what you're saying there. It's good for me to remember. Thank you.
I'd say that's all. It's a bit like our guy. He said something in his text. He said, he was dealt queens, an ace came down on the flop. I knew that I had the best hand, so I called him. Well, if you knew you had the best hand, why are you calling? Because there's another card's going to come down.
Yeah.
Why not make a move and potentially win it there and then? Here comes Frank. He's got jacks. He knows that jacks are easily beat after the flop, so does what a lot of people do with jacks and queens. Makes the big move. That'll be my cup of coffee with the sugar in there that you're screwing your
That
face
I'm
up.
gurning at, yes.
No gurning. You're allowed to gurn off camera.
Yes, gurning off cameras. All
Pocket
right.
eights for Frank. Our very own toast rack, 6-3, folds it correctly.
Thank you.
Jack 10 is involved. Well, there's Frank. God bless you, Frank. Frank don't like me, but I like him. He's got 3 8s.
3 8s and 4 9s.
Exactly. That's obviously his favourite hand. Quad 9s, part of your history, or just somebody else? They were already more than 9,000 francs. The club and the 2 is scary. Frank ain't having any of it. He's got himself the full house, so he doesn't have to worry about the flush. Ace King off suit, Jack Queen suited on the button. Really depends what happens before him, but Frank's probably not too shy to see that. Now that there's a raise, he's not going to make a raise himself, just calls. 5-6 suited connectors out of position.
Nope.
Absolutely
Not
fine.
with raises in front of me. No way.
That's right, absolutely. Early days, the blinds are 10-20, you've got over 1,000 in chips. Why would you want to get involved in a pot?
Yep. This is true.
Kings, 9-10, Jack, Queen, King. Bullrod can't know it, but he's run into a monster. It's even worse for him because he's actually just improved. But the fact that Frank called the last bet slows him up. Frank, 180, the pot's 850. Oh my God, Bullrod thinks that he's laying a trap, but actually is about to get bent over a barrel. Bullrod, good night.
Good night. And he is a very good player, and he did
Yeah.
say if I could possibly fast forward the game till he'd gone, and I'm sorry, but I couldn't. I wasn't allowed to do that. So, Val, if you're listening, I apologise.
But the good news is we've seen enough of Bullrod's actions in the past to know that his timing's off there. He's got nice big hands, but really just a little bit. I thought he had checked on the river because Frank called a big bet on the turn. And now he's thinking, I'm meeting resistance. I made a big bet and Frank's called it. I'm going to check here. And I thought he was checking to see if Frank wanted to just check it out. Frank bet, at which point you're going, I've got a nice hand, but it's not unbeatable.
Right.
So I'm surprised to see him. If he wanted to find out there, I don't think that raise is ever going to make Frank fold.
Yeah.
But hey, Bullrod, you know, we've heard from you before. If you've got a different story to tell, sounds like you don't.
No, I think it was just one of those things, really.
Yeah, one of those things.
It was one of those
The
things.
cards played it out for you. As we see how it balls on the button.
Hoik. Hoik balls.
Hoik balls.
It's hoik balls.
Why hoik balls?
It's a northern thing. They're mints. Northern mints. I've been instructed. It's hoik.
You learn a lot, don't you, in the chat box? I'm so good. It beat the presenter, even though I've got a dreadful track record. It's so nice to actually chat to these people.
Isn't it? I love it. I think it's so much fun.
Frank's got a nice hand. Ace-7 suited, you might have fancied until Frankie makes it kapow to play.
No.
Makes it easy to throw that away. Tens is good enough for you, Frank. Welcome to the blinds. Pair of fours under the gun.
No.
Tricky.
No.
And to be honest, if it was any other game, it might be worth limping in because it's...
Really?
Well, the thing is...
An overcard comes down?
No, absolutely no. But what I'm saying is, you're in an early position, but
Right.
because it's so early in the tournaments and the blinds are so small, as it goes, actually you would have got away with it there. Then you would have seen that you don't improve, so it's
Right.
easy. But in that instance, to make an investment of 20 bucks when you've got over a grand,
Of course. On the
you
possibility.
are early, you've got a lot of chances of people raising it. As it goes, in this instance, no one did. So you would have got to see the flop for 20. And had you hit a 4, then it's a hand that you might not have otherwise been in that you might be able to maximise.
Fair
Could
enough.
still get beat. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, really. But I find in the early stages of the tournament, doing that a few times when it's cheap. Later on, I'm not going to spend much on it at all. If I've got a rubbishy hand, but people are daft enough to let me limp in, which they were in that instance,
Yep.
if you limp in, by the definition of the fact that people have let you limp in means they probably haven't got anything either. So if you do hit a trips, you can probably consider yourself not in too bad shape.
Yeah.
But slow and steady wins the race.
Well, I'm the tortoise.
If you don't put yourself in harm's way, then no harm can come to you.
Yeah, and I figure if I limp, someone's just going to raise me.
Well, absolutely. That's why I started off by saying
Yeah.
on any other table,
Yeah.
On the Beat the Presenter, that's surprising because how often do you get involved in a pot without some sod raising you up just because they
want to,
a piece of your action?
Yeah, I know. Oh, God.
But no. 8s for 24 ginger. Isaac has a piece of the flush, but probably won't believe it's a great piece of the flush. Little bet, tiny bet. Okay, it's a bit ambitious for me, but it's going to do the job. Little bet probably would have done the job, to be honest.
Yeah.
It could be big enough that 24 suspects he's stealing, but you've got not enough to gain if it turns out you were wrong.
Right. Well, Isaac there is a fairly new player. He's actually quite new to poker and new to the site as well. So, and I think it was his first time on the Beat the Presenter table.
Well, Ginger must have thought that that was such a big bet, it was designed to scare him off. Isaac, balls of steel, comes back over the top with absolutely nothing. 24 Ginger's going, well, I thought he was stealing, but actually maybe he's not. So that is a great example of winning with nothing in your hand, just pure aggression. Pure aggression, sorry.
I know you went really Australian there.
The South African Australian, pure aggression. Well, Ginger's not going to muck around. He's just lost a big chunk of chips. So he's deciding to make a stand. 10-5 offsuit, easily dropped.
Yeah.
9-10 suited. No. There you go. Do you know what, mate? If you think it's worth it for $60, $60 of chips, help yourself. Queen 4 suited for Great Scott.
No.
Scott.
Nope.
No. And I think this is going to be Battle of the Blinds.
I
Hoik
think...
balls. Hoik!
I think this is the point where you were saying to me, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm just, you know, making it look like maybe I got something. I'm thinking about it. So it took me so long to fold it there.
Yeah. It's a good example of how you should never really put a lot of money behind decisions based upon the time people take.
Because they could be having a cup of tea, they could be multi-tabling.
It assumes that they're paying attention. If it's me, I'm multi-tabling. What if one of the other tables I'm on, there's a lot of action going on, I might be slow to react. And you think I'm trying to prove a point or make something, or, yeah, you're right, I could be scratching my nose, I could be reaching for another Satsuma. Who knows?
Oh, I suppose.
I could be at a very interesting part of my Sudoku.
How fascinating.
Awesome. 9s with the Queen high, 9s with the Ace high on top of the King. It's a real battle of nothing. No one can believe that neither of them had a heart.
Yeah.
Just like the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, that's so poignant.
Yeah, I'm going to use that, actually. I might use that somewhere. Let me write that down. The next time someone hasn't got a heart.
Fewer hearts than Oz's Tin Man. Doesn't really trip off the tongue, but I'm sure you could refine it.
Thanks. Thanks for your faith in me as a journalist.
Absolutely.
I'm sure if I had dedicated 2 weeks in the Algarve, I could turn it into something usable.
Gold. Pure gold.
Gold! Ryman. A lot of stationary action. 6-9. Not too tricky, mate. He had a prod on the blinds. The thing is, it's just bad timing.
Bad timing.
You make a move and you run into hand. He's down on his chips. He's feeling a bit short-stacked. He's thinking, I need to make some moves. You run into a hand. You run into a hand.
Yeah.
Hoik balls.
Hoik balls.
It's a decent move. Frank. It's still quite a lot to Frank, and he's going to be out of position with King Jack. I don't think Frank's going to call this. I could be wrong, but Frank's is pretty solid.
Yeah.
You know, that's easy for me. He's out of position. It's quite a chunk of chips. He doesn't. What sort of a flop does he want to see? It's a, you know, great example of Frank being a solid player.
Yeah. It's funny because Frank has actually folded the blinds to me. I think a couple of times in this game he did, and it did make me think, well, he is a really solid player. He's not even going to try and steal my blinds.
Casper will do that a lot. Again, especially on this table, it's like a lot of times Casper just give it up because it's like, do you know what? I'm not going to get into a situation where I'm going to lose more chips than I need to. If it's not a hand I want to play, it's that whole thing about folding or raising. Again, that applies to the blinds.
Yeah.
If you don't like raising with Queen 9, you shouldn't limp in with Queen 9 because you open the door to someone. And also, a raise has the added equity that you might scare people away.
Yeah.
See?
I know. I limped in, but I
I
really thought he was going to call me whatever, and I didn't think Queen 9. See, and he raised me.
Yeah.
I thought Queen. Just on the off chance he lets me come through to see the flop.
The difference is, even if you make, this is all supposition, even if you make the minimum raise there, if you just make it 80, he's got whatever it was, I forgot already, king 3 or something, is that you're in the small blind, you could be better. It's one of those things where a lot of the time you say to people, do you really need to be involved? Is how much does it hurt you to let go of your 40 here?
Right.
As opposed to getting involved in a pot with a hand that you don't really want. You know, never get involved in a pot you don't want to be involved in just because you're one of the blinds.
I know, because isn't it true that a lot of people leak money from the small blind? And that is, you know, exactly what I was doing
Because you've only got to, every time you're the small blind, you've only got to call and get raised and fold.
Yeah.
You're just practically playing 2 blinds in a row and you're never making profit out of it.
Yeah. No, you're right.
You know, obviously, if you get a hand that you want to play, but you should find a hand that you would play even if you weren't in the blind. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you will limp in and someone will let you limp in and you've got a hand and then neither of you know what you've got. But that's a lot of ifs. And perhaps sometimes you might.
I did just want to see if he'd let me see the flop.
Yeah, which is fair dues. Because if you do hit part of the flop, bingo, you're involved in a hand that you might not have. But the problem there is if he calls you, if he lets you in, should I say, if a queen comes on the flop, you bet and he calls. Yeah. You got queen 7 and all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, I'm playing this pot. I don't know where I am.
Yeah, I know.
Now, you know, again, it's a lot of ifs. I'm kind of making up the scenario to suit my point.
No, but I see what you're saying. It's a valid point. If it's not a strong enough hand to really see a pot with, then why see a pot? Try to push him off it.
And right now, 20, it's kind of, it's 2 sides of the argument. 20 is not a lot to call to maybe see a flop for cheap. But it's also not a lot to just fold. Next hand, you're going to be on the button. Yeah. Maybe you get a stronger hand, you've got a stronger position, you've got a full all bit of the table. Ginger manages to scare everybody off. Ginger's still got enough chips to go all in and make a sizable move on anybody else. King 10 on the button. Could well play. Is the King 10, you know, we picked up on your King 10 in a different game where you were like in an early to mid position. Here he's on the button. He has the luxury of acting last. It's 80 to call. It's only the big blind. Okay, he's going to make a move that could even be seen as a steal. But neither of these guys think, if I'm wrong, if he's stealing and I call him, if I re-raise him, what if I'm wrong? And again, Frank, we know he's a solid player, so a great example. I mean, the big blind, but big blind, schmick-schmind. It's
well
king
said.
4.
Well said.
I mean, face or a raise, I'm out of position. The guy could be cheating, you know, he could be cheating me out my blinds. But so what? I'll let him win it on this occasion, because at some point, if he tries that move again, and I've got a better hand, I'm going to make him pay for it. I'm going to re-raise him. Yeah. Pocket 8 doubles the blind. For fold.
We're both fairly tight there, Frankie and I.
Well, that's fair dues.
Me and Frank.
Circle. He likes to have seen him playing seat 1 before. Descending upon you.
Ah, yes. From on high, like a mighty god of vengeance. Stealing our blinds.
Yeah, it's a fair move, and it sets yourself up. The good thing for him is, at this stage, to set himself up as somebody that steals blinds, in inverted commas, isn't a very expensive pursuit. And it could be something that really comes off later on when the blinds are massive and a big percentage of your stack, because you only started with 1,000 here.
True.
You know, most people want more chips to play with. You want 1,200 or the 1,500 that the bigger binds give you. Yeah. Just because you've got a bit more manoeuvrability there, a little bit more space to play with before you have to start getting crackers. Ace King in the big blind against a pair of 5s. Ah,
I remember this hand. I remember it well.
Is this the one where you were flapping and staring at me and going, huh, and gurning and hamming it up for the cameras?
No. The cameras weren't even on.
Yeah, but you still love the glare.
Oh.
The smell of the grease paint that roiled the crowd.
Yeah, yeah.
The 6
Look
emails.
They don't believe me. They don't believe me. And they were even doing in the chat box going, gee, is she bluffing? Is she? And I typed in, I never bluff, which probably wasn't a really great thing to do. It's like a...
Well, it's you showing...
It's me being...
It's
but I don't bluff that. I really don't. I'm a fairly tight player. But Hoik Balls is going, oh, no, I think... Exactly. So Hoik goes all in with 3-10 offsuit. Seriously, Hoik.
Now this is where you start gurning, isn't it?
This is it. And I'm going, oh my God. And I'm going, look at this. And I'm pointing at the screen to you, going, look at this. Look what he's done. Look what he's done. Look what I have.
If only you thought to just move the mouse and make a decision, perhaps you would have had more success. But as it goes,
accidentally, with no part whatsoever in the decision, I believe you're likely to time out and fold. And then, in fact, you don't even click I'm back. So I think you only just managed to get dealt the next hand as well, because you were so busy flapping. But there you go. I mean, the truth is, okay, you know, who knows?
He might have had aces.
In an alternative universe, you call his 3-10 with the ace-king, and you get cracked. You get bust, he hits the 3 on the floor. Or you go on to double through and get a big stack of chips.
I guess so, but I didn't want to take that chance. But Hoik, seriously.
See, but that's the thing again, it's celebrity pressure. Would he have done that? Had it been Frank, would he do that to Frank? What's he got to gain? He looks a muppet if he loses. If he wins, well, it's Frank. It's not like you took out the presenter. Yeah,
but if I did that, people would just absolutely rail against it.
You'd get called by 6 people if you tried that move.
Oh god, yeah,
and 3-10.
And it would be all over the forum the next day that Kara can't play poker.
And that's the problem, is you can't even make that move with ace-king. Imagine trying to make the move with 3-10.
I know.
Welcome to celeb. Welcome to celeb. Not that I'm that, but you know.
Oh, neither am I. Good lord.
You know.
But I've now
on this particular program, I think you know you count as the celeb.
Yeah.
When you're at that table, they all want to talk to you.
Oh.
They want a lock of your wig. Sorry, your
nice,
hair.
Nice. Oi, 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 oi.
And let that go.
Yeah, but I've now got 680, which is, let's be clear, less than 10 times the big blind.
It is, but it's not time to go all in with ace. That's with king 10 out of position just yet.
Okay.
No,
I know.
I mean you're right. You're right. You've got 680, but round the table you've also got 770, 800, and 660. So.
But does that matter as much, really? I've still only got that. Oh, now it's gone up to 160. Look at that. I've got very few big blinds left.
That's true, but you're not unique. It's not like everyone's on $3,000. That's the thing with these low buy-in sit and goes, is it only takes 4 levels before it's a crapshoot. But you don't necessarily need to be the one that goes out first. It's almost, you know, it's almost, let's be honest, in any of these you ever watch, who doesn't get down to be really desperate? Everyone gets to a stage where they're desperate. Everyone gets down to less than 10 times the blinds. Because who could be 10 times this? We've got nobody here is 10 times the big blind.
Except for Frank.
How much has he got? He's got 18. Sorry, I thought that was 13. Yep, you're absolutely right. 1830. So, 1830. The majority of the players, especially considering when you get to this stage when there's actually a full table, well, no one can feel comfortable. No one's cruising. No one can sit back. Everybody at this stage is kind of waiting for an opportunity to make a move.
But if we wait too long, then our move isn't going to be respected because we won't have enough chips to make it matter. Although I know what you're saying. A lot of people have very few chips, therefore it is worth it to them.
Right now, 680 is a big part of anybody's chip stack. 680 to Frank is still like half his stack, just under. You know, do you know what? There's
a third.
What you're saying, 3 680 is, yeah, okay.
We're both right. We'll split the difference.
1350, yeah, I know. But you know, I know what you're saying. But there's no one to whom they can just call you and go, ha 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 ha! I call you with anything. I have so many chips. Because before they know it, they're sitting there with slightly more chips than you, but not a great deal more than you.
Yeah.
And if they call you, all of a sudden they swap roles and they're looking for a desperation moment.
Yeah.
It just.
I nearly pushed all in with that. It was suited, but it was only a jack high, and I just thought, someone's going to call me. Hoik, in fact, will call me, because he does not trust me. And I didn't want to, so, and I'm glad I waited, because now I've got ace jack, so for me, that was enough.
That's fair dues. Because so many players on this table are now waiting for something playable. And they're waiting that they've got something playable, and they crash into somebody, or they pick up the blinds and get their 240, which buys them another circle of the table.
Yeah.
Because you can, you know, it's pretty likely the next time that the table rotates, somebody else will have died just because at this stage with 1,000 to start with by level 4, who's got enough chips to keep playing? If he calls that, you'd be in good shape, but it doesn't. It's all right for you. You're back up to just under $1,000. King, Queen suited. Frank's going to make a move here to make it expensive for anybody else to make a...
I know, it's such a shame because I really thought, King, Queen suited.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I'm still tempted, I have to say. But then Frank's got a very tight...
well, Frank's got the chip lead. What is Frank? That's the other thing is, what is Frank going to risk all of his chips on? Knowing how gagging, there's you, there's 24 Ginger, there's Circle, knowing how many other
desperate players there are.
Yeah.
What kind of a hand is he likely to risk it with? I would put him on a pair.
Yeah.
Or something like what he's showing, which is an ace-jack or ace-queen, ace-king, something like that.
And it looks like everyone pretty much put him on that. That is something, because this is the first time I've ever actually seen or played against Frank, and I will be remembering how tight he is.
But it's not tight. The thing is, he is
pretty tight. He's got
solid
pretty good
aggression. I know he's about tight, but tight is sort of, yeah, I guess it's.
Oh, not overly tight, but he plays good cards.
In this game, you can't really play tight. You don't have enough time to play tight. I
Yeah.
think the difference is he's not as speculative as some of the others. He's not as nutty. So he's not doing hoik balls and raising you all in with 3-10s. You're never going to see Frank making that sort of move.
Yeah.
But you'll see Frank in position with cards, getting value out of it.
Took me ages to figure out 3 times 160.
I mean, it's one of the drop-down boxes, for God's sake.
No, it's not.
I think you find it.
Oh, no, don't tell me that. God.
Yeah, a little drop-down. It has all the I wonder what all that tapping on the calculator was about. Oh, did we just miss you pick that up? Was that? Did you actually make anyone, or was it just the blinds? Oh,
Yeah, just the blinds.
Okay, that's
just
fair
the
enough.
blinds. But that's enough for me.
Ace 10. Not fancying ace 10.
You know what?
Under the gun.
Not under the gun. I was scared.
That's fair, dues.
Because I was either going to go all in with it, or, I mean, ace 10. I'm either. There's only one empty seat here. I'm first person to act. I'm either going to go all in with ace 10, or I'm not going to play it. And that's what was my thinking on that.
That's fair, dues.
Really? No.
I don't know. I would find, if you think about the next, if we see whatever the next half dozen hands you get are, ace 10 is probably not going to be.
That's a good point.
I don't know. So
Position,
you had ace 10, now you got 3, 4. I just think, it's like gun to your head, your life's on the line, ace 10, is it the worst hand you're likely to see? That's nice because you don't even get contested there, so at least that round hasn't cost you anything. Okay, pair of 9s, I'm going to prefer that to a ace 10, but...
Ace queen behind me, what is he going to do with that? Cause...
Well, Ginger goes all in, so he could have anything.
Yeah.
Because that's... I'm surprised that queen 3 is what he's been waiting for, because he's actually got another hand before he goes in for the big blind. So kind of a bit curious for me for 24 Ginger.
Yeah.
Unless he just thought, right now I've got enough chips to make a move, and everyone will see that I had the option to fold here, so maybe they'll put me on a bigger hand. I could have totally misjudged you.
Do you think I'm crazy?
I'm kind of surprised by the
Really?
call.
They'd already raised it so much, and like you say, let someone else do the work. They'd raised it.
But if it's good enough to call, it's good enough to raise with. It's kind of my other argument. I mean,
Of
as it
course.
goes here, you're still
I'm
laughing
lucky.
because that no one else has hit, and there's a number of cards. You've got queens,
7, 8,
threes,
9,
and
10.
aces to have. You've also picked up a draw. There's only one over card to your pair, so you can't feel too shabby about that.
Yeah, but then he's put in a nice big bet, representing something. But I'm thinking, what? What are you
3-20.
representing? Because you didn't. I've got two. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy him representing something there.
If
Looking
you
at the
don't buy
flop.
it, why aren't you raising him? Again, I'm
guess so.
not even being up. I'm being devil's advocate, but
No, fair enough. I think I don't buy it, but I don't trust my own judgment.
But that's the thing, is you have to have the courage of your convictions.
I
Because the
know,
thing is,
I know.
you trust it enough to call.
I do.
So the fact that you've called, you have no doubts that you don't believe him. Otherwise, you'd fold.
Right.
So if you believe enough to call for nearly all your chips, well, you may as well just commit to your
You're right.
belief.
There is
Because
something in that.
as well as if you don't believe him, that doesn't mean that he might not still go on and draw and beat you.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
I'm just thinking about it. No, I believe you. Can I point out that I'm chip leader?
You can point out your chip leader.
I'm chip leader.
We might even have a leaderboard page at some point, we think. No, I don't think so. I don't think we've got time. It could change so quickly.
It could. These things change on the
No, I mean,
turn of
the
a dime.
thing is, you're doing well. There's just two of the hands where you've believed that you had the best of it.
Yeah, but I didn't.
And you called.
Yeah.
And more cards came down. So you did have the best of it, and you knew it, and that was your judgment.
Yeah.
But you played in a way that then allowed more cards to come to the table.
And it could have changed
like the
everything.
first time when Ryman made a move, you didn't believe him. What did you do? You called, and another card came down. Luckily, it didn't help him. Just then, you didn't believe that Frank had it, so what did you call? Another card came down. Luckily, you didn't hit it.
It's a very good point. That's got to be an area of leakage for me.
And again, if it's good enough to call, it's good enough to raise.
That's a very good point. I'm just worried that I'm going to end up committing too many of my chips, that I'm being trapped or something.
But you've kind of committed so many chips, and you're calling and leaving yourself with a couple of hundred. If you believe him, if you don't believe him, then you don't believe him. Bash.
Right.
Even if there's a bit of doubt in your mind that says you're going to call, well, if there's any doubt, you should be folding.
Right.
But if you really think, well, I don't think he's got it, I'll call you. What if I don't think you've got it? Bang, I don't believe you. Here, have all my chips. You fancy it?
Yep, I hear you. I hear you. I think you're right. Well, this should be interesting.
6 on the big. Ryman could make a move with this. No, decides not to. He's got a hole. Oh, I was going to say whole orbit. There's actually 2 gaps in front of him, so it's not going to be long before he has the big blind anyway. Frank makes it big boy style. Is all in. A call with the 8-6. A6. Frank was short stacked enough that he could have done that with anything. And the oh well, hello, 2 pair. That's not the worst thing in the world. It's a call. It's a different call there because you've got him covered.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I've got him covered.
He pushes in. You've got an ace, which is heads up. He's out of position. He's running along chips. He could have done it with anything. Yeah. We've seen far less hands going.
That's what I was thinking.
And you've got him covered. You get this right with your ace.
Yeah.
You get it wrong. You've got him covered. You're not. No, that's the thing. Is making the money is like not going into fights that you can't survive losing.
Yes. That was actually part of my thinking in that.
Well, that's a good thing. And the good news for you is right now, anybody who wants to fight you, you can call them. And if you lose, you're losing a third of your stack. You're not going out of the tournament. You're not down on your knees.
True. No, and I am starting to think, okay, now who do I... Right, now pick the hands, and who do I bully? Who do I try to grab their stack?
Yeah, exactly. It's who do I want to pick on now?
Yeah.
Who do I want to abuse? If somebody tries to limp in,
yeah.
If Circle tries to limp in, I'm going to raise him. Just whatever. You know, whatever I've got. You do. That's the thing is you want to pick your fights now.
Yeah, but not whatever I've got, because I want to actually have something. Even if it's just an outside something.
But heads up, you're never worse than like 64. You know, even if you go into the worst of it, it's heads up, it's flippy coins. I mean, that's, you know, one of the big things we talked the other night about, you know, heads up play, is any 2 hands against each other, unless somebody's got the pair, any 2 random hands, at the very worst, you're not a huge underdog.
I guess so, huh?
So, this is, you know, well, that's a great fold in light of the jacks.
Yeah, I just thought it was too early.
Well, you've got the chip stack. Circle's about to die horribly. And the other thing is, Circle is already mandatorily in for half of his stack. Yeah. It's unlikely he's going to fold anything.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, so
that's
unfair, isn't it?
Circle, you know,
wow.
I mean, the jacks were bad enough to turn it into a full house. It's just like, you know, kick him.
Salt and wound.
You're getting up. Ooh, kick him down again. Yeah, let me help you up. Ooh, I'm joking. It's smack around the head. Pang, frying pan. Well, here we are on the bubble. Yeah. Pokemon Live's very own Great Scott going, I might make some money. I could get the money. I've only got to live longer than Hoyt balls.
Yeah. But bear in mind, this is not the first time I've made the money. Because a lot of people said that, oh, look at Great Scott's in the, might be in the money, she might be in the money. And then someone very nicely went, it's not the first time she'll have been in the money. Thank you
play enough tournaments, anybody can win.
This is true, you're right.
Made the move. A little bit dominated, Isaac decides to call you here. I can't believe he is not considering it.
He must be. But he didn't. I can't believe he didn't. I think I'm lucky he didn't.
Maybe it's because it was a funny sort of size raise.
Again, I was trying to... I need to figure out where the drop-down box is for 3 times.
And there's this, like, 800, right? It's like, well...
What the heck does that mean?
What does that indicate? So, yeah, maybe your inability to add up some very basic numbers has paid off dividends.
Can I just say, I can do it normally. It's just under pressure. I find it really difficult.
Yeah, I find it really hard to work out what 3 threes are when I've only got 30 seconds to work it out.
I feel, you know, pressured.
It's all right. Don't have to defend yourself. I'm just teasing. Ace 10 is good enough. Not good enough for you, but good enough for him. On the button, all in. That's a nice, big, juicy set of blinds now. Set of stake knives to the loser.
I think Queen 10 suited, you'll find, is not so bad either.
I'm quite happy to look down and find... And Ryman, even if Ryman comes with you...
I don't think he will. No, that's what I was thinking. It's me and you,
it's
baby.
It's not even 100 to you. Bang, he has indeed flopped himself 2 pair.
Yep.
You are pretty much on the drawing dead side of life.
Yeah, but, I'm sorry, it didn't cost me.
No, there's no question about that. There's no question.
It cost me 70 to call, because I was on the big blind.
Yeah.
So I just thought, I mean, I'd have to be insane not to call that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Even if it was a bit more than that, you've still got to call him, because apart from the fact you've got him covered, apart from the fact he could have anything because he's desperate and he's got in, you're the added extra, you might knock him out and you move into the money.
Exactly, and it was only 70 to call, because someone actually...
Now it's a bit bigger, so that's a good fold.
Yeah.
3-8 is more committed. This is quite a big giveaway. To give away 600,
That's a big old handover, but probably not the wrong decision.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Hoyt Balls is back in the game, and your chip lead is a little bit lesser.
I know.
So is King 4 big enough for you, baby? On the button? Nope.
They've been doing the all-in thing. I just
Yeah.
didn't think it was. I probably should have gone in with that.
Well, the problem is the blinds are just so monster,
I know,
and
I
no
know.
one. I mean, no one's got any sort of safe percentage of chips. So that's the only
First
problem
act,
with these
no.
sitting tables. You get to this level, you may as well arm wrestle for it. You know, there's not going to be a huge amount of poker, is there? It's going to be somebody gets a hand that they fancy getting all in with. Somebody calls because they're either pot committed or they've got a hand that's similar. They don't mind. Ryman here has got 640 in the pot. He's only got 370 left. They're suited. They're probably live cards. Flip a coin. You're probably, even if you're underdog, you're not a huge underdog. To throw this away and be left with just enough to make the small blind, there's no point in playing that. Here we go. He's hit. He's hit some of that.
Yeah.
A diamond would save him. If it doesn't, it was
a good try.
But he probably went into that with a fighting chance.
Yeah.
If he throws that away and leaves himself 370, now he's in for 320, so he's got 50 left. Better to fight when you've got a chance of making some money. And here you are in the money. Congratulations.
Why, thank you. Well, thank you very much.
Welcome to the inside of the bubble.
That's what it looks like.
Breathe in the air.
It feels nice in here. I like the inside of the bubble. I do indeed. Oh, so I've made a bet that he can't cover. Because I think he's probably not going to want to go in with whatever he's got. It's a random hand. And I was right. So I got the blinds, which at this point are considerable.
Exactly. Now he's in for half of his stack. You know that he's going to go in whatever. Hoyt Balls has got himself an ace-king, as if he's, I don't even know, I think he's probably typing something hilarious. Well, there, mate. Welcome to flopping the nuts draw.
Yeah.
Even if you don't make it, you've still got the best of it with your ace. Queens with ace, king, jack.
Nice.
You're up to second place, no less, no more. But well done, Isaac. You're
Heads
in the
up.
money as well, mate. Well done.
Yep.
7-2, 7-10. It's a big set of hands. You've got 3 grands. Yep, I can understand that. You know that it's coming for you.
I know.
But ace 9 is pretty good. Harwick's going to try and use his position to bully you and run into you with ace.
I know. Now
gonna
this
give
is
this
something I'm not entirely very good at heads-up play. This is something I've been trying to learn a bit more about because I don't have a lot of experience at heads-up play.
Well, it was interesting. I don't know if you actually... I sent an email in the night that we did where we focused on it.
Yeah.
And then the next night I sat and just played back-to-back heads-up. And it... What I was saying... I sent an email and it was saying what I found is that it's not necessarily just about aggression. It's about punishing weakness.
Yes.
And that's the difference. It's not like, I make a big move, I make a big move. Far more profitable was when somebody fails to make a move, when somebody tries to limp in.
Yeah.
It's punish the weakness, because you know the way hands... I mean, here you go. This guy's... Hoyk's got ace-king.
I know.
But mostly you're seeing lots of rubbishy, raggy hands. Wowie, is he going to have to call this?
But I figure, isn't that how you do the whole heads-up thing? You pick a hand, you go all in.
Well, kind of.
See, that's...
A 3.
I know.
Are you going to outdraw him? Oh, you cracked him. That's not nice. He even flopped himself. He's got the best hand and he flopped himself a draw. I bet he was very complimentary in the chat box right now.
Yeah.
3-5.
I believe I was dancing at that point.
See, again, random hands, 3-5, 2-9. Who knows? He's got the best of it, but...
Yeah.
Oh, 3, 4, 5, 6 for you. A 2 or a 7. Or even a 5 or a 3. You've got all sorts of odds to... 9, he makes the 9.
Yeah. But again...
1680 is coming back his way. You've still got him covered.
Yeah.
But the blinds are
huge. They're huge.
You've got yourself...
There we go, here we go. So I've just made a bet that covers his stack.
Yeah, well, exactly.
A random amount that I typed in. Yeah.
Only a 2 will save you now, Superman.
And it doesn't come.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the winner of tonight's Beat the Presenter? It's Grace Scott.
Thank you very much.
Are you feeling good?
I really enjoyed that a lot.
I'm going to break into your account and waste all that money you just earned.
I wouldn't do that, because I will have to kill you.
I've got the password. Anyway, no gurning. Well done. Congratulations. Thanks to everyone that participated. Well done to everyone that took part there.
Especially me. I really enjoyed that. Okay, now we've got some emails from some of the people that I was playing against. So, wicked, let's go for that.
Wicked.
I'm still really excited, I'm sorry. Okay, this is from Irshak. Irshak. And Irshak says, Dear Poker Night Live team, I've been playing poker for 1.5 years now, and I've been pretty successful. But I have a problem. Do you know when it's good to raise 5 times the big blind? Thank you, Isak. P.S. Well done and beat the presenter tournament, Kara. Gee, thanks very much. Right, 5 times the big blind?
Do I know when it's a good time to raise the fund? Well, actually, funny enough, I played a game last night, and this is a conversation we've had before about sometimes tables seem to have their own pace. And even though we know, and Kara's a follower of this study, you know, when you want to make a pre-flop move, 3 or 4 times a big blind is you going, ta-da, do you want to play, do you want to fight? But some tables it doesn't seem to run that way. And there's one of the live games I play in quite often where for some reason, even from the offset, if it's 25-50, 250 seems to be the bet. If you're going to make your move, it's 250, not 150, 250. Why that is, I don't know. I played a game last night. It was massive. If it's 25-50, you had to be making like a bet of 300 just to prove a point. So the truth is, I have a problem. Do you know when it's good to raise 5 times a big blind? Really depends what your objective is. If you really want to scare people off, if you're somebody who has a problem playing things like pair of jacks, pocket jacks, I don't know what to do with pocket jacks, is if I make it 3 times the big blind, will someone with an ace king or an ace queen come back over the top of me? Maybe in that situation, it's like you want to make overkill. It's one of the first things I was ever taught, one of the first ever live games I played in the UK, was how to play queens. And there was somebody who was just like, overbet the pot, because queens are great, but a king comes down, an ace comes down, a suit comes down. So the truth is, maybe that's the time when, if somebody calls you, you're not in the worst shape ever.
Right.
But really, you kind of want to win it here. If you go crazy and go all in, if you run into a monster, you're going to die horribly. So it's finding that middle level where you don't want to just sort of raise it, you want to make a big move, but you don't want to commit all of your chips to it. But the truth is, I think you find whenever you sit at a table, you just have to find the rhythm, you have to find the vibe of that table. And if it feels like 3 or 4 times the big blind isn't making the message you want to give out, you have to step it up. But, I mean, there's no set time when you have to do 5 times. It's all tools, not rules. If it feels like that's what needs to be done, step up to the plate and chuck them in. That's it. That's my answer.
That's his answer. So there you go. Find the equilibrium of the table that you're sat at and kind of use that to understand where you are.
Yeah, let that guide your actions and the amounts that you feel are necessary to get the job done.
Let your conscience be your guide. Okay, we have another one here from Hoikballs. Hoikballs says, hello, just a quick email to say I enjoyed playing with you in the Beat the Presenter tonight. I enjoyed it too. Thanks very much. I thought you played very well with good reads on most players. I ended up heads up with you and maybe you got a bit of luck there. But hey, it serves me right for my dodgy play against you early doors. Yes, it does. Well done, Kara. Am I right in thinking this is your first win on Beat the Presenter? It is my first place win. Yeah, I have cashed before, but this is my first, and I'm very excited. He says, if so, congratulations, and I'm proud to have played against you and lost. Hopefully this will be the start of a winning streak. Give my regards to George Wonder. Take care. Oh, thanks very much. I really appreciate it, because I have been on, a little bit of a losing streak, and I felt so despondent about it as well, because I thought I was playing good, solid poker, but I continued to lose. So it's nice to have kind of, it's nice to have done well, so thank you, and thanks for emailing in as well.
Yeah, and it's a good point. It's very honest here, is that the thing that says, you know, maybe you got a bit lucky there.
Of course.
Yes, I mean, there were situations where you go in with the worst of it and you hit a hand, but the difference is, it's a bit like TV's Nick the Hare Wealthall. He hates bad beat stories, because bad beat stories focus on the end, where you got knocked out. And if you tell that as a bad beat story, it doesn't pay any tribute to how you got in a position to be there. So, yeah, our girl got lucky, but the truth is she had more chips so she could cover you, so she could get involved in hand. So that's the thing, is that you put yourself in the position to be outdrawn there. But up until that point, you weren't in that position through luck. You were getting the hands and making the best of it. So it's a very honest email, and it's a very good email. That's the truth, is if you get unlucky when you are low in chips up against somebody who's got you covered, it's going to sting you, and it's bad beat city, and you're out of the tournament. But it was very good, actually. It was very good, considering how big those blinds were. the end of that tournament wasn't quite as random as it could be, and it was actually quite entertaining and quite good examples of bits and bobs going on. But no, good to hear from you, mate.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you. And just to take a minute as well, thanks for all the regular players and viewers who are actually there in the chat box. It felt like you were all kind of, you know, cheering me on, even the ones that I was beating, because it was like you all took some sort of pleasure in my winning, like I was everyone's little protege.
Exactly.
Oh, isn't that
We're all
nice?
very proud of you, I can tell you.
It's really nice, though. Everyone was, you know, giving me advice and really taking care, so I really appreciate that. There's another one here from Balrog. Balrog says, "Morning, Matt and Kara. Good morning. The fudge up I made in Beat the Presenter, my ace-king against a flop straight. Yep, hands up, I played it wrong. Previously lost some chips to the same player on 2 earlier hands. After I checked on the turn and he put a further raise in on the river, the red mist came over me and I thought, he said something rude there. Something I advocate never doing, but I did do nonetheless. No excuse, just one of these things, I guess. All goes into the memory, though, to try and avoid such things again. No doubt I will do such things again at some point, but hopefully more and more infrequently as time passes. Very well done, Karen, the game. Good show, both." Thanks, Balrog. Much appreciated. And I'm glad I'm not the only one who, I mean, being a new player, who feels that kind of red mist where someone's bullied me and I want to get mine back, and then I end up making a silly call.
It happens to everybody, and I think most successful tournament players accept that that's part of being a tournament player. You know, cash games, you have lots of time to recover from bad beats or going on tilt or making a bad move. In a tournament, that's it, bang, you're out of it. But I think people know in tournaments the variance is high. You might play and lose 100 tournaments, but because of that payback, it's like any of our multi-tables we watch, the payback, if it's a free roll and the top prize is 1,000, or it costs you 20 to get in and the top prize is 200, that's the whole point in tournaments, is that you have to play quite a lot, unless you're super red hot and you get good decisions and good positions. You have to go through a lot of tournament play to actually turn that into a sort of a profitable move.
Yeah.
But again, honesty is always a good thing. People that think, "Oh, I'm so unlucky." If you know you made a bad move and you accept it, then hopefully you learn from that, and the next time you're in that position, you're going to, hang on a minute, this never works well for me. Let's just chill out here. But, you know, it's a bit of Zen, bit of control, bit of Casper, bit of inward searching. All that sort of business. Thanks again. It's good to hear from you.
For all of us. A little bit of the spirit of Cass for everyone.
Soak it in. Soak it in.
Yes. Basking in the sun of Cass. Right. We have an email here from Julian. I don't believe you read this one out while I was playing, did you?
No.
Okay, let's read this. It says, "Hello, I'm playing a $5 sit and go, or $5 sit and goes, and I do quite well, but am I playing too tight? For example, in the game I'm playing at the moment, the blinds are at $30 with starting chips of 1,500. Okay, I see. The blinds are at 30 with starting chips of 1,500. I was on the double blind, and everyone else had folded except one player who raised 150. I folded ace-10 unsuited. Is my play too tight? It's not easy to judge the players, as they're never the same. Thanks." So is this a different sort of Texas Hold'em? Double blinds and whatnot?
No, I don't entirely know.
You mean the big blind, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's what you mean.
Okay.
Is that, you know, you've got the small blind, the big blind. So you're saying if it's
Gotcha.
at 30, maybe somebody's on 50, maybe the blinds are at 15, 30. Not entirely clear from what you're saying. You're on the big blind, someone else has folded to you. It's hard to say because that's exactly the situation where people might try, and we saw it a lot tonight actually in Kira's game. Lots of people in that position where they're trying to make big moves to scare people off the big blinds. It's so hard to say whether that's too tight or not because we don't know anything about your opponents. We don't know if they're the sort of people that are doing this all the time. They're bullying you. They're trying to steal blinds. The truth is, you can never go far wrong to fold when you don't think you're winning. That sounds like a very passive, you're missing opportunities to make money. But at least you're not getting involved in situations where you're out of position, you're playing a hand that you weren't feeling very strong about. Ace-10, in light of a raise, if he's got a pair, you beat. If he's got ace-king, ace-queen, ace-jack. There are a number of hands that can beat you. But the problem is we don't know whether he's just kicking you around because of position. Only over time will you know. If you don't like ace-10, then don't get involved with it. And then you're happy and you're never in that position. But hard to say, very hard to say. But let us know how you get on. Keep experimenting with it in different positions and let us know how you get on.
All right, now we're going to be going to the news and we will meet you back here after the break because we're going to be looking at the end of the multi-table tournaments, both of them, so you're not going to want to miss that.
A lot of multi-table action.
Oh yeah, see you in a minute. Hello and welcome back to Poker Night Live. We're here for one more hour only. I know, very sad, but we'll be on again tomorrow night. So don't worry, if you're loving it that much, not too long to wait. And you can always watch the rerun if you want to watch my Beat the Presenter slot again. tomorrow during the morning, afternoon-ish, because I won, by the way. Now, a lot of you out there actually, you caught that. It was a split pot on the last hand of Beat the Presenter. We came back to the studio a little prematurely.
Because we knew that the win was abound, we came back to celebrate, not realising the one we went, yes, and she wins. No, that actually was a split pot.
Yeah,
it was 2 hands later that our girl took it down. So, well spotted. Sorry about that. We were just very excited.
I know. It's not every day that, you know, I come first, or that that the Beat the Presenter slot, the presenter actually is the first place in that. So there you go. Right, let's do some emails.
Sorry about that.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oops.
Yeah, email from Tommy. Tommy says, hi guys. I've been playing for a few months now, playing in low-stake cash games and low-stake STTs, or single table tournaments. I will finish the day either with a slight profit or a big loss. I keep losing a lot of my bankroll, which isn't very big anyways, and having to put more into my account. I play tight aggressive and only play my premium hands, but I just don't seem to make a profit, just loss. What can I do? I love to play poker. I play every day usually and don't want to quit, but I'm just not making any money. I don't know what to do as I can't see what I'm doing wrong. Please help me. Oh, Tommy.
Yeah, I mean, do you know, it's really hard to answer because we don't know if there's any weakness you've identified. If you're saying that you play tight aggressive, is it that you find people are like being more aggressive than you every time you know, it's a bit like the Beat the Presenter thing you said, is it every time you make a move with your ace-king or your queens, someone makes a big move and it forces you off? Are you just being unlucky and every time you go in with a good hand you're getting cracked? There's so many reasons why when you're starting to play on low stakes, you find people might be a bit more casual in calling you because it's not a great deal of money to them. You might be better off actually stepping down a level, i.e. go back to playing on the play tables. Because if you've not been playing for very long, if you're playing at low stakes, you might find that there's not a huge difference between the kind of play you encounter on the low stakes tables and the kind of play that you encounter on the free tables. If you don't want to do that, I would suggest what you do is actually maybe go to the single table tournaments, but I have no idea what level you're playing, but at least play on the $5 tables, because it's probably the level where you start to get a decent game. If you're playing in really low stake games, it can be the case that whatever you do, people are just cool, because it's no skin off their nose. They're really not investing a huge amount of money. I know we'd never like advocate, yeah, put more money and you'll get a better game. You need to at least find a level where people care. Because the worst kind of opponent is somebody who doesn't care.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, whatever, cool. I know that I'm chasing a straight. I know that I'm really not getting the odds, but cool. Because those are the people that, when they hit it, it just kills you inside and it really puts you off. So, I mean, if you want to maybe come back to us with a bit more detail, if there's specific instances, specific scenarios that keep seem to slap you around, then maybe I can give you a bit more specific advice. But the truth is, I'd avoid right now the cash games. Because with the cash games, it's very easy if you've got a small bankroll to let any losses really affect you, and then you start really tightening up, and as soon as anyone vaguely raises you, you're going, oh, not more money I'm going to lose. So maybe stick to the single table tournaments, because that's the beauty. Whatever you pay, that's as expensive as it gets. And just plug away, because maybe you'll identify in yourself a weakness. Maybe you don't react well to re-raises. Maybe you're not being aggressive enough. But come back to us with something more specific, and maybe there's some specific help we can give you. Other than that, keep playing away and see if it improves for you. But it's hard to give you anything specific. Sorry about that, Tom.
Okay, good call on that. Very good advice. Hopefully you heard that, and do let us know how you got on, as Matt's saying. Now, we've got in our last hour the end of the multi-table tournament. That's the rebuy tournament, as well as the free roll. So
It's all happening.
It's all happening. Let's go see what's going on. Right, there we go, the rebuy tournament, the $5 bounty rebuy.
Now, I'm taking it, this is our last table. This is it, this is the FT, this is the final table. Just to give you a real quick, whack. Just to give you a quick quack, a quick recap is the phrase I was actually, it's not that funny, very late in the evening, lots of coffee's been drunk. This was our $5 rebuy tournament. Everybody paid $5 just to sit down. There was actually an infinite amount of rebuys available in the first 60 minutes. And what that meant was that we had 57 players, ultimately putting into a pot $715. So 57 people managed to actually put 143 entry fees in. 10 places got paid. We've already seen some of those guys come into the money and exit. And now we are down to our top 4. There's Ivor, that we did actually focus on a bit earlier on. There's Scotty, a familiar face on Poker Night Live. Just in time to see Scotty get plonked out. But Scotty did come fourth. And for fourth place, you get $67.92. The other thing we don't know is if any of these players managed to take out any of the Stan James players, because this was a bounty tournament, as you can see by the very top of your screen. And that meant that as an added bonus, there were a couple of Stan James players, and if you were one of the people that knocked them out, you just got $50, just bang, for taking that scalp. So this could be, for somebody, a very, very...
lucrative.
Yeah, a very lucrative game to get involved in.
Indeed, it could be, absolutely. And one of the Stan Jameses are not going to be on this final table because they've all been knocked out. I wonder who did that.
We will never know.
Never, never, never. Down to 3 players. There we go. Rosie's Ivor and the 2 R's. And the 2 R's takes that down. He's a short stack, but he just won that one, so he's not quite as short stacked as he was before.
Ivor has a big old chip lead here, and he's got himself a powerful hand of plenty. 3-way, ace 3, totally dominated, only a 3. Oh no, what am I talking about? There's the jack. The jack hurts and the ace makes no difference. The 2 R's makes $89.37. If that 37 cents makes any odds to you, I just don't know.
It might do, mightn't it?
You know, you might want to play in a 3 cents game.
Ivor's just,
roses.
yeah.
Queens is good, and there's the flush draw, but ace is going to survive.
Yeah, Ivor bet enough so that Rosie had to call all in, but she wasn't worried. Oh, no.
Well, heads up, I mean, you know, as I said before, most of the time you're like 60-40, 70-30. You know, that random hand versus random hand. Right now, the blind's 2,000, 4,000, so actually they're not exerting a huge amount of pressure on the players. It's not nice by any means, but, you know, even Ivor, who is the short stacks of the 2, has nearly 20 times the blinds here.
Yeah.
You know, which is nice, and it's one of the problems to a certain degree of watching the single table tournament so much.
Yes.
Is that you never really get any proper heads up, because by the time you get down to 3, well, you'll take your game. The time you get down to 3 or 4 handed, the blinds are so ballistic that really, when you only start with 1,000, it does become very hard to really play any canny, cunning poker. It's like, I don't mind the look of this hand, right, let's just chuck them all in and cross your fingers. Whereas here, when we get to the end of these multi-table tournaments, you've got good players with a really good amount of chips, depending on obviously the pace. This game only had 57, even though it was a rebuy, after that first hour, moves very, very quickly, because it's not like some of the tournaments we watch with a couple of hundred people in it. Yeah. It's the same blind structure, but with such a smaller field. So once that freeze in? What the hell does that mean? Once it does freeze you out of the rebuys, it doesn't take too long.
No.
Chippity chop.
What do you think for a new player like myself, going into an MTT? Do you think that's a good idea, because it does give me that extra time because the blinds are going up so much more slowly? I don't have to worry about being short stacked in, you know, 20 hands.
Do you know what the truth is? I think you have to find your own pace. You have to find what you're comfortable with. When I first started playing in lots of multi-table tournaments, and we actually had an email that said this, I find I get bored.
Right.
I find that if you have been brought up, as so many people have done, on the single table tournaments, you kind of get used to the pace. And then you go to a multi-table tournament, and it's a bit like watching people that have qualified for big live tournaments through online satellites. They get into a live room, and they move so fast, they just move ludicrously fast when they don't need to, because they're not used to the amount of time they have. So the truth is, you've got to totally treat it as a different game. In the same way we say there's a huge difference between cash games and tournaments. There's a huge difference between single table tournaments and multi-tables. You've got to slow down. You've got to look to pick up chips when there's good opportunities. But you don't want to get involved in daft hands.
Yes.
In a single table tournament, sometimes you have to get involved in some daft hands because you haven't got time to hang around.
That's the thing.
You know, my advice about early days, get involved in a few more speculative things, get lucky, pick up some... In a multi-table, there's not that same pressure that says you have to do that. You still want to maximise every opportunity, and you need to make your own opportunities, but you're not going to get murdered by the blinds. And Michelle said this the other day. She was saying she played in one of the multi-tables. It's taken her a long while to adjust.
Right.
Because she's so used to thinking, I've been playing for 20 minutes, I must be nearly dead. And it's like, you're only at level 2.
Yeah.
You know, take your time. And that's the point I was making to some people that sent in an email before. Before you sit down in any tournament, make sure you know what the structure is. Or in fact, most software that that you use or people play, open the screen that gives you the tournament details, that tells you when the next level is, what the next level is, because you're sitting there going, oh my God, I've got an ace, I'm going all in. You look down, you see you've still got 8 minutes before it goes up to like 5,100.
That is very good
You
advice.
started off with 2,500 in chips. You didn't start with 1,000 that you're used to. So you really need to actually appreciate your situation. And the other thing to watch is if you've got 200 people, look at what the average chip stack is. Just because one guy is already on 10,000, most people aren't. Most people are on the 6,000. You're on 3,000. You're not in bad shape. You've still got so much play. So just don't panic. Just be aware of your situation. Don't be like totally lackluster. You still want to like win pots. Don't worry about the whole tournament. Worry about your table. All you've got to do is beat the people at your table.
Yeah.
And you will automatically be part of the bigger scheme. But make sure you know what's going on. Don't hassle yourself into getting involved in silly pots when you've still got hours left to play.
Okay, so for a new online gamer like myself, I really do need to explore the website. I need to know where all the information is. I need to know how to get that information.
Yeah, and most of the software these days is pretty brilliant. You know, like most people have learnt now how to present it. You know, and most of the time there'll be one of the options on your window to actually just have where the statistics are, the chat box or something like that. You can replace that with just the stats that show you what the biggest chip stack is, what the smallest, what the average is, how long till the next level, how many chips in play, yada, yada, yada. Now, there's normally, from the actual main lobby of any of these clients, there's normally a dedicated tournament lobby as well.
Okay.
Not necessarily for the single tables, because all it says is how many players, what the prize is. But for anything with more than a couple of tables, there will be a separate tournament lobby. If you look around the screen, there'll be something that says, look at the tournament lobby. Show you how many tables there are, how many players are on each table. It will show you a master list of all the players, what their chip stacks are, where you are in that ranking, what the prize payout is. You know, the information is there.
That's good. Okay.
And you just need to absorb it. Find out how many places are played. You know, if it's 30 places, 40 places, 50 places. It's like our free roll, you know, that we watched earlier on, and we'll come back to it. Top 18, but actually 5 to 18, you don't just want to get in the money, you want to get in the money with enough chips. You don't want to be hanging on in 20th place thinking, I'll keep dumping the big blinds, I'll keep dumping the big blinds just to get in the money. Because to be honest, qualifying into that money isn't a huge amount of dosh anyway. You want to be up in the top numbers. Information is power. And
you're right.
Thanks.
No, I'm not. I don't mean to sound so surprised. I'm just thinking, I'm kind of filing it away and thinking that is really good advice. That's something I want to remember.
But the simplest advice, slow down.
Yeah.
You have got more time, more chips than you've ever encountered before.
I like that idea. I really do. There's something about that I think I could really kind of settle in, try some different things without having to worry too much about chips, really play nice and tight, because that's how I like to play anyways. I got to be honest, I don't like going crazy with the hands. I like having good starting standards, and I like the idea of having more time and not having to push all in 20 or 30 hands.
That's perfect. And you also, another thing to think about is you've got different tournaments. There's a lot of these, they're called six-pack tournaments. And you're still playing a multi-table tournament, so you still might be playing against 200 opponents, but you're not on an 8-handed table or a 10-handed table. You're constantly playing on 6-handed tables. So if that's the way you like to play, if you like to be a more aggressive player, that's where you will find more movement, you'll find more space to be a bit more creative. If you are, a great phrase, you like to have a higher starting hand standard, then you're probably going to be more suited to the 10-handed table, where there's lots more players, so that when you do find your premium aces, kings, somebody's going to be there that's a bit more mental. Someone's going to be going in with their pair of sixes, or and the other thing I would say, and this is kind of the scourge of online play, you don't have to just go all in. When you've got 2,500 chips and the blinds are 50, 100, you can make a big move. But you don't have to go all in, and it's one of the big errors. All the live pros love internet qualifiers, because as soon as they get ace queen, ace king, they think they've got to go all in, and it's just offering people too much in the way of odds to miss an opportunity to swipe someone out. If you want to make a big move and you've got 2.5 grand,
you make 1,200.
Right.
That's a pretty scary bet if the blinds are 25-50. You don't just go all in. So like I say, just slow down on every single sort of side of play.
Okay.
And that's the end of my story about multi-table tournament.
I enjoyed that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is a really interesting heads up. They've actually been going at this heads up for a fair amount of time now.
Banging away, haven't they?
They have been. I wonder who will come first, because that's always interesting to know. Now here we go. They're not going all in each time, like you've said. They're making moves.
Don't need to. Yeah, absolutely. They've both got enough chips to sustain. We're at 2,000, 4,000. They can both survive for ages. And that's the point, is that you're looking, most of the pros, they are looking to win lots of small pots.
Yes.
They don't want to win a couple of massive pots. Because getting involved in massive pots puts you at risk.
Yes.
Being involved in lots of small pots also puts you at risk, but tiny little nibbles.
True.
You know, if you go in a pair of aces and somebody comes in and they crack you,
Yeah.
if you're daft enough to have gone all in with aces and the guy with king calls you and a king comes down on the flop, well then you've only really got yourself to blame. Whereas if you make a big raise and somebody with kings comes with you or makes a re-raise, you get to that flop still with chips, still with a big pot to contest, but there's actually some play. Just the poker culture seems everyone's just like, they know how to play pre-flop.
Yeah.
I like these, I'm going to raise, you want to re-raise? Well, I'm all in then. And it's like, there's three
you're
exchanges. I bet, you raise, I'm all in. And then that guy folds or he calls, and then it's like a big focus.
You're
but
right.
That's not really playing poker. That's
No.
like playing two cards and then hoping that maths is on your side today.
Yeah.
But that's not really poker. You know, poker is also working on your post-flop game. It's working on using your position. You know, understanding your pot odds and how to make that attractive or unattractive to people.
Yeah.
I know, I'm saying the same thing round and round, but it's just, you just got to slow down and try and actually you want to maximise every pot, not just wait till you get a big hand and try and get somebody to call you all in.
Right.
It's like you're relying on a real bunch of unique, specific situations where you've both got hands you want to invest all your chips in, and then you cross your fingers and please don't outdraw me, please don't outdraw me, or you're crossing your fingers, please hit me, please hit me, please. It's like, well, that's really not supreme poker.
No, you're right.
And Rosie and Ivor are almost exactly the same chips. So before the blinds went in, which have gone up to 3,000, 6,000, they are both sitting on almost identical chip stacks.
And almost identical hands there as well.
Yeah.
Now, when you're saying that...
And exactly the same hand there, sorry, 310, 310.
When you're saying that about post-flop play, pre-flop play, that sounds like me. That's exactly what I do. And I think because as a new player, I've not quite got the finesse of post-flop play. So maybe this is something that you've really flagged up, because just hearing what you're saying, that's exactly what I do. So I need to start thinking about, what do I do after the flop? Continuation bets, position, pot odds. Oh, Lord.
Well, it's the same thing for you, but as a player, you can look at other people, because it's, again, it's classic. Somebody has raised me 4 times the big blind pre-flop. I'm going to put them on ranger hands. I'm going to put them on a pair from maybe 8 upwards.
Yep.
Ace, king, ace, queen. So when the flop comes down 2, 4, 3, rainbow,
Yeah.
and they check, you go, so you were the guy that bet pre-flop, and now you don't like it. Or if they bet, well, just out of principle, I'm going to raise you to see if it's a continuation bet. And people go, oh, I didn't hit the flop, I tried to steal it, he's caught me, I fold. And that's the problem, is people not understanding that they understand all the pre-flop stuff, but the post-flop stuff, they fall apart.
Yep.
And a lot of people, they'll play their kings, they'll play their... They don't hit the flop and somebody bets at them, they fall apart. They don't, you know, we don't see many re-raises that aren't all-ins.
It's very true.
And if you watch any of the big games, you watch any of the proper multi-table tournaments,
Yeah.
is you'll see, you make a move, well, I make a move back at you, I make a move back at you. And I bet if we counted the number of genuine re-raises we see in an evening, it's very low, because that's the mentality. You bet, I re-raise, and I raise you, and you go all in. And then we're just arm wrestling over, like, the odds of the hand beating. It's
Yeah, you're right. And crossing our fingers and hoping for the best, which is not a greatest position to be in. And that's exactly what I think I'm doing. So that, thank you, is something I need to start looking at.
There was someone earlier on, actually, that impressed me, and I can't think who it was. It was somebody that sat in
seat 4, it might have been, what's the guy that sounded like you're clearing your throat?
Isak?
Isak or something like that. And there was a move where I think he had junk. He had something like 2-4 suited, and somebody 2 seats to his left. And he made a move which somebody made a raise on. And then he made a re-raise. And it's like his bet was positional. The raise back to him was positional. And his raise was... The cards really didn't matter.
Yeah.
It was somebody under the gun having a go. Somebody who recognised that going, are you really sure? And him going, I know exactly what you're saying, and yes, I do want to go. And him going, okay then, and folding. Nobody went all in.
Yeah.
Everyone was asking questions. No one cared about their hands at all. They just wanted to know, do you fight? And Esau, or I can forget him, just keep changing his name every time I say it. You know, he did a fair thing. He asked the question. The guy says, I know what you're doing. And he said, well, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And in the end, they said, well, fine. Nice dealing with you.
Yeah.
And that's probably a real standout moment for me, because it was like a bit of poker. It wasn't like, I'm having a prod, oh, I'm going all in then.
Yeah.
Well, I'm calling you then. What you got? King 5. What about you? Queen 3.
Yeah.
Good luck. Oh, you outdrew me. Good game. Email about my bad beat.
Yeah.
It's, you know, that's the difference, is the whole asking the question. You do need to have the chips and the flexibility to do that,
Where
which
maybe,
we don't always have. But if that's the kind of poker you want to play, and you should, because that's a nice type of poker.
That's what I really do want to get to. Maybe that's why I do think doing a multi-table tournament where I have more chips, or in relation to the blinds, then maybe I can spend a bit more time thinking about what I'm doing rather than going, I've got less than 10 times a big blind, I got to go all in.
And again, it's dangerous because you never, you know, we never want to be pushing people to spend money if they don't have it or they're not comfortable spending it. But that's the difference when you move up to like playing the $2 tournaments or the $5 tournaments. You get up to the 10s and the 20s, you're going to get more chips to play with. The blinds are going to go up every 12 minutes rather than every 10 hands.
Yeah.
You do get a bit more space to exercise poker.
Yes.
Rather than, I've got about 3 levels, I got about 30 hands before the blinds are so bonkers that I'm just going, whee!
Yeah.
You do want to actually enjoy poker.
And these two guys, I would say, are probably really enjoying this heads-up match. Like, I might be wrong,
well,
but I bet they're really enjoying
I mean, we're kind
that.
of, you know, apologise for kind of ignoring the hands going on as we're watching this just tick over, but they're doing what happens a lot in heads up, which is you get dealt your cards, somebody makes a raise, somebody folds. Get dealt the cards, somebody makes a raise, somebody makes a re-raise back, that guy decides to call and see the flop or he folds. And then you can't survive in heads up without knowing how to play post-flop. King Jack hasn't hit any of it, makes a bet. Rosie has, makes a re-raise. Now Ivor goes, do you know what? Okay, and probably chucks it away. Or he goes, all right, I fancy getting involved in this. And then we see what the gods bring. But that's kind of poker.
Yeah.
We both like our hands pre-flop enough to see the flop.
Yeah.
I haven't hit any of it, but I'm out of a position.
Yeah.
If I check, you're going to bet anyway, so I may as well bet, and then at least if you answer me, you've got to have something. You know? And that's the thing, is it's like a conversation.
Yes.
Ivor's first, he's going to flat call, he's trying to sneak in, so that if he hits something, no one will put him on the hand. His first to act, he goes all in, he says, fine, I haven't hit anything, you have it. You know, it's that conversation going back and forth.
So they're talking to each other rather than screaming at the top of their lungs at each other.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Great analogy, they are.
Thank you.
And a little
Thank you very much.
conversation. I fancy this, how much? Do you want to play? Yeah, I don't. And they're a kind of respect, I mean, that's the thing is, and that's where you decide whether you respect what they're saying. So he says, do you want to fight? He says, not only do I want to fight, I really want to fight. I say, well, do I believe you? Do I believe that you've got enough behind you to make that move, or are you just trying to bully me? And, you know, etc., etc. That's a good thing in this situation. These guys have had long enough to actually have a bit of a feel about each other's play.
Yeah, and I imagine that's when they will start to step it up, maybe, and then start pushing each other all in.
And that's the thing is that, look at them, they're back to being equal again because they've got enough action in each instance. And you see that with the heads up, is that the momentum moves backwards and forwards, and then there will be a key hand where somebody makes a big dent. And then somebody is now clawing, because when they're like this, they can afford to keep raising and folding and raising and folding. And then at some point, someone's going to get ace-king versus a pair of eights, and there'll be a big move. Because we've seen already in the last few hands some big all-ins, and people are happy to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is, and we always say it's swapsies, swapsies, swapsies. I get a slight advantage on you, and then you get a slight advantage on me. And we do this for a while until there's that key moment. And it's generally down to the cards. It's almost like this part of the game is about surviving.
Yeah.
until that moment happens when there he makes his move with the ace. Roses doesn't want any part of it. Fine, here we are again. We're both around the 100,000. Oh my God.
Ooh.
I think I just said this. Didn't I say this? Ace King versus somebody has eights.
Yeah.
And this is the hand where you go, okay, fine. But that's very typical because it's a race. Roses is probably going to go into this knowing that there's a good chance that there's going to be overcards against.
Yeah.
But it's a made pair. It's
Heads
how funny
up,
is that?
that's
How
good.
funny is that?
Oh, wow.
And aces have hit. And there's Ivor. That's brilliant. Thank you. I feel quite psychic there. But
I think you might be.
That's just exactly what you would expect to see.
Wow.
Is that they're moving backs and forwards until one of them has the other one just slightly covered. They make the move. The other person goes, you know what? This ain't the worst hand in the world to go into a fight for.
Yep.
And congratulations. So there we see Ivor gets $214. And Roses picks up 143.
And well done, both of you.
And thank you very much for some interesting heads up there. Sorry I wasn't kind of picking up the hands too much, but I think that was good to see ticking over there.
Yeah, it really was. So thank you for that. Now we have a couple of emails to take a look at as well before we go to our other multi-table tournament.
Are we, Michelle?
Now this one, it's funny because you might just be psychic. It's talking about pretty much exactly what we were saying. This is an email from Gary. Gary says, "Hi guys, I found your show last week and I've been hooked ever since. I've been playing poker for about a week. And I entered my first free roll tournament on Saturday and came 86 out of 2,000. Well done.
Wow.
Hopefully you're enjoying it. It's a great way to start to do a free roll because then you're not risking anything like Matt said. He says, I've played a few since, but found myself making rookie mistakes. You've only been playing a week, give yourself a break. And rushing into decisions after the turn card and the river. I know I'll learn to think a bit more, but when players limp in or make small bets, then go all in after the river, I automatically think they're bluffing because of small bets or calls. Is this right, or do I need to think about what they're doing more? Cheers. No, cheers for you for that, Gary, because thank you. It's always nice to have new viewers and new players as well. So thank you for your email. What do you think, Matt?
Well, you've just described one of the things I've just been talking about, which is this amazing thing that everyone seems to think that if they make a bet and you make a bet back, and they have to go all in. And the problem you've got is that if you automatically think they're bluffing, well, the problem is they might be, but you're in a tournament, and if you get it wrong, you're out of the tournament. And it's a bit like, again, it's all these kind of conversations we've had tonight coming together, which is if somebody is being overly aggressive, all you can do is just let them steal pots, let them get away with murder, let them pick up the odd bet, let them pick up the blinds, because at some point they are going to run into a wall. They are going to run into you when you've got a decent hand, and then you're just going to have to try and take them down. Or the other suggestion I was making against our earlier, I think it was Rob, who was like, just calling with queens. I know I've got him beat, I just call. Or a bit earlier on with Kerry was just like, I know I've got him beat, I don't believe him, I just call. Push back, because a lot of the pros will say this, as soon as they sit at a table where there's a bully, I'm just going to bully you around for a while so that you chill out, because I'm not prepared to sit here letting you run the table. But God, you've been playing for a week. The truth is, I can't think that this stage that you need to worry too much. I think you need to get your groove on. You need to get as many games under your belt as possible. Big free rolls is not the worst place to start. You will probably find that the early stages of the big free rolls are pretty mental, because people, it's a bit like playing a rebuy tournament who's somebody who's got infinite funds. I'm just going to go crazy. If I get bust out, I'll buy back in. I'm going to go crazy. The same with free rolls. In the first 15-20 minutes, you will probably see like a quarter or a third of the field just bust themselves out. So as long as you can stick in there and not get involved in any crazy hands, you'll get a really good grounding there, because most people, they care. Our free roll tonight is $1,000 at stake, so people will take these seriously. Once they feel I've got the chips to sustain a decent game here, they'll take it seriously. It's just so early to give you any direction, because you're going to be learning so much without anybody else telling you. Keep watching the program, because one of the first things I say to anybody who's just starting is get as many hands under your belt as possible. Play as many cards as you can. Get to feel what are strong hands, get to feel what are not good hands, what the flop does to you, how hideous it can be. Watch us 4 hours, how many hands are you going to see? You get to see how different people play ace-king in late position, in early position, in the face of a raise, in the face of a weak check, etc. But, I mean, after a week, if you come 86 out of 2,000, a lot of people never do that one in a free roll. Keep plugging away, and as always, keep us posted. I want to hear from you again in a month, where you say, right, week 6, this is where I progressed to. I'm now playing these single table tournaments. You know, just keep us posted, because it's good to have fresh blood.
Or fresh
blood.
meat, if I was a bit more vicious. But good stuff, Gary. Thank you.
Yeah, and do listen to that because it is great advice. And as a fairly newish player myself, that's exactly what I did too. And that really did push my game forward. And everything you've just said there about seeing as many hands as possible, when you guys said that to me in the beginning, when I just started out, I just thought, oh, whatever. But it is true. So now it's born fruit. In fact, it's born fruit. In fact,
we've seen tonight the fruits of our labour.
Isn't it lovely? Right.
Well
now, do you want to see a cash game while I read you another email?
Yeah, let's have a bit of a chat over the topic, but let's pick up some cash. Okay, so before we're just going to address some emails, but let's just quickly just make sure we know where we are. So
look, it's Isak.
Is Isak our boy and his favourite? So we're here. We're watching 5 people play out in the 25.50 cash game. Oh, well, there goes Hallie. So this is a game where you can sit down with a minimum of $5 and a maximum of 50. So having only just tuned in, it's hard to know whether these guys have taken lots of hits. They all sat down with 50. Most people do opt to sit down with the maximum simply because if you do hit a big hand, if you've sat down and decided to only sit down with like $20, well, you've just minimised your winning potential. But who are we to make these bold assumptions? There's a jack and there's the straight. There you go, welcome to a nice payoff, and we're down to 4, and this seat 2 is busy pressing the reload button. But anyway, so there's our cash game. We're going to just let this tick over in the background while I think we pick up a few more emails, because we do have a lot of emails and only about half an hour to go.
This is true, so hopefully you'll bear with us. There's an email here from Snowblind who's feeling, I think, a little bit bitter about online poker. And he was just at the very end of my game earlier tonight. He came into the chat box and did say he'd been just having a real bad time. He says, hello there, great show as usual. I watch every night and I have one question, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. So see, he is quite serious. 5 exclamation marks. I mean, one will do the job. Either you're shouting or you're not. I mean, I've got a big problem with people that use multiple exclamation marks. But go for it. I think he's upset. So he says, I'm thinking that there are far too many outdraws on the internet rather than in live play. Which is a good person to address this to, because Matt, you've seen quite a fair amount of live play, haven't you?
Yep, I've seen a fair bit in my time.
In your day,
in my day, God blimey, number of pots I've seen.
Oh, I say. Well, he says he thinks that the software is setting up big hands against each other to screw someone over, anyone basically, and I can hear the bitterness in his voice even now. But I understand that if you do have a bunch of bad beats in a row, I know where you're coming from. So he says that, and then he says even then, if you're in front, it tends to outdraw you by the river. Now, I know this is part of poker, but it's recently gotten so bad that I'm refusing to play anything online other than free rolls. Now, I'm not going to go on and tell you about any bad beats or crud like that. I just want to know, do you not think the same? I love poker to bits, but due to working shifts in my job, I find it difficult to get to the casino to play. So, unfortunately, I'm stuck with the internet. Please give me your views on this. Most grateful. Right.
Okay, we've not had this one for a while. The truth is, anybody that is concerned about the safety and the bentness of online poker, it is not bent. It is not fixed. There's a couple of things going on here. First of all, the thing you need to realize is that these companies, all the sites we featured, all the sites that are out there, they all make a lot of money legitimately, because they are charging you just to sit at their tables. They're not charging you a huge amount, but if you know how many people are online at any given time, and it's a bit like the card rooms anywhere, they're just taking a fee. I am here providing you with the opportunity to sit down and play a game you love with other people, and for that I'm going to charge you a fee. They make so much money legitimately, the last thing that the software needs to do is screw you over. If anybody attempted to screw you over, there are also now a good number, because of the popularity of the number of people playing. There's, I wish I could remember the name of it. I'm actually interviewing the chairman of this company. There's like, in the same way that there's a government body that looks over advertising, or there's Ofcom, or there's all these bodies that guarantee your safety in dealing with any organisation in any industry. Poker, online poker, is governed by a massive body that makes sure no one is bent.
Yeah.
If anyone got caught, all the guys we're watching, these companies here, they're making a good chunk of money. If you follow any of the news that shows you these companies, when they go public, when they float, what their profits are doing, they don't need to cheat to make a huge money. That's the truth of it. Why would they risk it? Imagine that they do. They set you up for a big pot so that you make a great big investment, and then, you know, they kind of bug you up at the last minute because they take a bigger rake. They don't need to do that. They just simply don't need to cheat you in that way. The other thing that is more apparent when you're playing online, it feels like there's so many more outdraws, but that's because you're seeing so many more hands. You play live, you're probably getting online, you're seeing probably a ratio of something like 4 or 5 to 1 as far as the number of hands you see per hour, because it's going so fast. There's no shuffling, you've only got a limited amount of time to make a move. There's no chips being moved around and stacked up. There's no drinks waitresses arriving. There's no change of dealer and they tap each other on the shoulder. So you are just seeing so many more hands. We know, as you rightly point out, this is a part of poker. We've seen some amazing outdraws tonight.
Yep.
Kara had a couple worked in her favour. Some of our other players we've seen going with the worst of it. And that is a part of poker. And of course it's going to be so much more visible when you're seeing so many more hands an hour. And just quickly interrupt myself, here we are on our free roll final table. We're heads up, more heads up in the background, folks. So I guess what I'm coming around to is you will see more of this happen when you're playing online because of the speed and the number of hands. It isn't fixed. If you monitored it, you will see its only probability doing its thing. And why on earth would somebody making so much money legitimately risk getting caught cheating? It just doesn't happen. Seriously, you're saying it's so bad you're refusing to play anything other than free rolls. Honestly, mate, I give you my word. I'll email you the details of this governing body that makes sure that it's all absolutely legit. You so don't need to worry about that side of things, because why would you do that? Why would you risk getting caught fixing software? And plus, it's quite hard to do. It's a bit like when people are worried about players colluding. It's very hard to effectively collude. It's very hard to effectively cheat because people will always do what you don't expect them to do. So, snowblind, can't stress it enough. Don't worry about it. If you're getting outdrawn a lot, everyone gets outdrawn a lot. Welcome to poker. But don't think that it's somebody deliberately fixing it to screw you over, because that's not the case. So please enjoy poker. Bad beats are hideous. But the thing I might suggest you do, as you play, make a note about how many times that actually you suck out. You go in with the worst of it, and actually you draw the hands you need. Because most people, they don't remember the good stuff, but they really remember the bad stuff. And you'll probably find that it evens itself out. If you have a bad week, I had a bad week a couple of weeks ago. Every time I went in with the best of it, I seemed to get outdrawn. And then you have a good week, because that's the whole point about poker, is it's a very long run game before the statistics actually stand up. So keep playing. Don't let that spoil your enjoyment. You're just having a bad run. The best in the world have bad runs, and then it turns around. You've got to keep plugging away. But thank you. We've not had that email for a while. We get that a lot where people have concerns. It's really not something you need to worry about. Yeah,
it just looks like it, as you've said, because you do see so many more hands per hour, so there you go.
And I understand it totally, but it's good to have it every once in a while just to make people feel better. But seriously, I know I bang on about it there, but it's an important one, because the last thing you want to do is ever feel like, hang on a minute, am I getting a legit game here? You definitely are. Anything that happens is just random.
Talking about legit games, am I right in saying that these two players that are going heads up in the free roll are playing for a difference of $500 now?
Yes,
that's amazing.
Well, this is our free roll. That's the thing with the free rolls. It's a bit of a... It's for marketing reasons, really.
Ah, yes.
It's a bit like saying, here is our free roll. You could win $1,000. Now, of course, they've only put $2,500 into this free roll anyway.
Right.
So not a lot of places are getting paid. 18 out of 783.
Yeah.
And in fact, you've got to be in the top 4 to be actually making 100. But the good news here is either, is that Rutless?
I think so.
Rutless and Charlie. One of these two is going to have the story to tell tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
That I played in a free tournament last night, and I made $1,000.
That's amazing.
And that's a great story. That encourages people. They think, wow, this is great. Ace King versus 10s. This is a bit like my Ace King 8s that I've predicted ludicrously before. You get big hand. There you are. He bet, he raised, he went all in.
Yeah.
He is now sucked out. They are snowblind. How do you think Charlie feels about that? He went into it with the worst of it. The flop didn't help him, and then the turn, it makes him. So if you're Charlie, you've got a brilliant story to tell about how poker works. And if you're Rut, you're going, do you know what? I hate poker. I'm gonna only play free rolls. Well, it's only playing a free roll anyway. But that's the thing, is the door swings both ways. Sometimes you are screwed, and sometimes you are the screwee, if such a phrase exists, which it doesn't, because I just said it. But yeah, that's the beauty of the free rolls is normally if you can cut through. And these guys, you know, they've given up a lot of time, but there's no downside to this. It doesn't cost you anything to play. As soon as you get through that mad period, here's a great opportunity. And we've had tonight. We've had somebody who's been playing a few weeks, someone that's been playing a few months, someone that's been playing only 1 week.
Yeah.
Is the good thing about all these free rolls, ace 10 versus ace 10, slight edge for Charlie as they're suited, but 118 to 1 that you're going to flop the flush, and that's why he doesn't, and that's why it's going to be a split pot, a bit like that hand that we declared you as winner. But the blinds are 8,016, so the guy that's on the small blind makes a slight profit there because he picks up the share of the big blind. These guys are going crazy. It's 16,000 is the big blind. They've got 162,000 and 1 million chips for Charlie.
Oh my goodness.
You don't need to go all in every hand, but that's the thing, is that's a bit indicative of the way people seem to play online.
Yeah.
They're probably just knackered. They've probably been playing for about 600 years.
Make this end now.
Exactly. It's like, look, one of us is going to get 500, one of us is going to get £1,000. You really can't argue about that for free.
Yeah.
So it's a good story, but as I say, that's what I was suggesting, is that someone's going to have a great story to tell, and it's just that's why the payouts are quite often very, very, very top heavy.
Yeah.
That's such a small percentage of the runners. 780 runners to only pay 18 is a very small percentage, but everyone that does has a really great story to tell. You're going to have 13 players that say got $50 for nothing last night. Everybody else gets 100, 200, 500, and £1,000. It's your big money. It's your good thing with the free rolls.
Yes, fab.
And meanwhile, you get to improve your game. You get to test out your theories about how to move in certain positions.
Yeah.
Because these guys, even though it's a free roll, this is money to them.
Oh,
they're not going to be mucking around here.
Do right. That's $1,000 for first place. That's fantastic. I'm so doing this. I love this idea.
You've had too much coffee.
I have. I really,
put a
really
ban on
have.
you after the 17th cup, I'm afraid.
No more. I've been cut off.
Right, the management's had a word saying that you're getting out of hand.
Yes, bring the Canadian. No more caffeine, please. That's only fair, really. I suppose.
So meanwhile, the heads-up fest goes on. Pair of sevens for Charlie. Why do you keep going all in, Charlie? You got 1 million in chips. You really don't need to go all in to prove your point. Don't you want any action? Because that's the problem, is also you go all in, you're only going to get called by somebody who's probably got you beat.
Yep.
Or he's going to do what we saw before, where he has an ace-king and he knows it's a race, but he hits and he sucks you out. You make a move with sevens and somebody calls, well, you then get to develop your post-flop play. You get to see what happens when you don't hit the flop, how you should behave. You get to see what happens when you do hit the flop and you want to try and get value out of that move. It's, you know, pre-flop, it's beautiful. Charlie going to go all in again here because he's got an ace and a jack and they're suited.
I'm guessing.
It's 16,000. Okay, see that's more like it to me.
Yeah?
Well, it's dominated. That's your lot, mate. Well done. So that's an amazing story. So Rutt gets to tell everybody tomorrow around the water cooler.
Wow.
That he picked himself up $500 for nothing.
That is amazing.
Charlie, congratulations, mate.
Well
You're
done.
the best of 783 players and you get £1,000. Ooh la la, can I have some of that? Just send a check, envelope. Maybe not.
Probably not. Right now we only have a few minutes left and we have a fair number of emails, so I'm going to plough through these as quickly as I can.
God bless you.
Okay. This one is from Posh, or Puffsy Boy. It says, hi Matt and Kara. Well done tonight, Kara. Excellent performance. Thank you very much. Just wanted to comment on Matt's advice to Tommy. Firstly, I'm not sure if Matt has played much on the free tables recently. I often play one when on the FT of on the final table of a multi-table tournament, and they are mad. They are very much overbet and overplay City. The best place to learn is at Poker Night Live TV tables. It may be embarrassing to think Ace-9 is a premium hand, but many beginners think that. The advantage of TV tables is the higher standard per dollar, and sometimes we get you guys to help us by commenting on us directly. And there are $2 tables, so you're right, they're not all that high stakes. Just look how good the likes of Shelby, XTC, Dem, Tilt, Aga, and 24 Ginger have become. Anyways, just wanted to add my 2p, because this is what I've done over the last 3 months, and I'm enjoying some success. Cheers, guys. Cheers to you, Posh.
Yep, I absolutely take what you're saying about how much you play on the play tables. you need to get lucky to a certain degree on the free tables. Actually, two different things. The multi-tables, yes, the freebies, they are mad, but they are only mad initially because this is only from my personal experience. Maybe your personal experience is different, but I find that yes, it's a bit like the rebuy period of a rebuy tournament. People are going bonkers, but what you find and what I find, and I think you will find this, is once you get down to half the field, you're probably dealing with people that want to get something out of this. They're either in it for the grand, or they're in it to develop their game. And I think I used to play a lot on the free tables. If I was doing other work and I've got a free table going, I'm just doing it to try and develop my game. If you land on a table with loonies, it's not going to help you at all. So you jump to another table. But what I found is that even if you're prepared to spend a bit of time bouncing around, you will eventually find yourself on a table with some like-minded people. They are going to act as if it's for money. They're going to try and make good decisions and see what happens. It is not easy to find, you're absolutely right. But I have historically found lots of these tables where you get a good bunch of people. It's like, what are you here for? Just want to practice my game. I'm sick of losing money. I'm just, I've come back to basics. I just want to test out some theories. And you can get a decent game without any investment. But you're right, there's still lots of very cheap options as well. So I take your point on. I just think our previous guy who's not got much of a bankroll, is sick of losing money, is not making any profit. The truth is, take that pain away. Go back. Do try some of these throw rolls. These guys like the free rolls. They made $1,000 out of it, $500, whatever.
That's not so bad.
It does take a bit of time to find a decent game, but they are out there for free.
Okay, all right. Rolling right along, an email from Pete. I've been playing online for about 3 months, and I just love those sit and goes. I'm still playing with my first stake of $100, and I've played around 200 games, so well done. Usually playing $5 tables with the odd treat to a $10 one, so I think I'm getting my money's worth. I'm very pleased with my playing in the sit and goes, and I feel that by the third level of blinds, I have a good understanding of the type of players seated. I've played around 5 MTTs, and my best finish is 24th out of 100. But on the MTT, as we know, we move about and have other players move on to our tables. Any tips for playing a multi-table tournament event, or is it just a matter of my day will come? Keep up the good work.
Well, we've talked quite a lot about multi-table tournaments tonight, so hopefully some of that has helped you. The truth is, there's no specific tips I would give you for multi-table tournaments other than single tables, beyond what I've said are the key things which I said to Kerry. It's like, slow down, be aware of how often the blinds are going up, be aware of how many chips you're starting with, keep an eye on the general progress of the tournament, and don't panic. Don't take the logic you set. If you're playing lots of single tables, don't take that logic into the multi-table, because otherwise you're going to find yourself moving all in with Jack-Queen suited. And you don't need to. You can sit and play your premium hands and your good positions far longer in the multi-table tournaments. Coming 24th out of 100, I mean, that's strange, isn't it? You're doing so well on the single tables, and that's all you're doing with the multi-tables. And 100 players isn't a very big multi-table. Maybe you're just playing too rapidly. You've not really said what it is. You might have any suspicions of why you're not having success. But again, all those same things. Slow it down, chill out a little bit, and just try and get into the game, because you are going to get moved around tables, lots of different opponents. So you're going to have to focus on your game, because your opponents are probably gone in a minute. But slow it down, take it easy, and wait for some good situations. Don't feel that pressure, because there won't be that much pressure till much later on. Okay, if we can do this very quickly, Tirade wants to know, is it better if your opponent checks a flop, is it better to check back in case of a check raise, or put in a feeler bet to see where you are and then take the pot? What do you think? If you had to commit yourself? I would always make a bet, because by checking, you don't know where you are. If you bet, you may well win it there. If you bet, you might get an answer like a call which says drawing hand, and if you bet, you get a raise. You know that the guy is trying to set a trap for you, or is at least ballsy enough to push that onto you. Yeah. Checking or limping, you don't learn anything at all. So I think you always want to vaguely ask the question. Ask the question, what question are you asking by checking? You're saying, you don't know? No, me neither. Check. Flop comes down. What now? Yeah. So you want to get some information. That's what I will say. Well, hopefully you've learned a lot tonight. I know I have. And Dirty Papa, thank you as well. I can't read out your email, but you checked some of the maths on one of my drawing hands and said, you know what, it didn't look as good, but it was still a fair enough hand. And it kind of proves the point we said in heads up, any two random hands, no one is a huge underdog. Nope. So, it's always worth in heads up, just getting involved in it. Okay, that's it from the two of us here tonight. But again, Poker Night Live is on tomorrow. You're going to want to watch that because it's going to be fab. It's a pro night, but it's good night from us now. Good night. Good night.